I might sit up a little more, just like level out with you, and so you don't
heights.
So you don't look like you're just dwarfing me over here.
I'll get awkwardly slouchy. Okay.
Just pretend like you're wearing a back brace the whole time. That's all.
I did when I broke my collarbone, and I was like this the whole time.
You broke your collarbone?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
Both of them. Twice.
What?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
Motherfucker.
Turn it. There we go.
It's like it's a fucking knob. Okay. I think we're good.
Yeah.
So cramped in here. Hope I can't see my hole.
It's no man. It's cozy.
Just my dirty knees.
It's comfy. It's okay. Dude, trust me. I have the ashiest knees. Like my wife introduced me to moisturizer, and it's been a game changer. Like I'm on my knees a lot at the gym. Take that as you will, but
you've been moving up in the company fast.
Yeah. It's been good.
Okay, so after an amount of time that I will not explain, we are good to go. We finally made it.
Let's go.
So thank you so much. Okay. Hey everyone, welcome to the Chalk and Soot podcast. Here today, also in the rig, third different location within the same building through the last 3 episodes. This one a little cozier than last time. Here with Taylor Stewart.
What's up? How you doing?
I looked over here like it was like you were going to be over there because I see you in the monitor.
Yeah, I'm staring directly at it, man. I don't know. Yeah. It's my first podcast, man. You're popping my podcast cherry. It's nice.
It's been a nightmare of technological things, as almost everyone is, but we figured it out. 2 guys trying to figure out how to open a super long extension cord, and absolutely unable to, so we ditched it and found another one.
There we go.
Men. Okay. I feel like I should not be mixing coffee and beer, so I'll try and...
You do what you want, man. Dude, they do that on purpose. You know? There's coffee beers out there.
Buzz Beer, Drew Carey Show for all the old people out there.
I used to watch, I watched the Drew Carey Show hardcore all the time. Cleveland rocks, brother.
There you go. Okay.
Cheers to that. Cheers to Cleveland and Drew Carey.
Cheers.
Boom. Right over the electronics. Smart. I'm
going to make it buzz again. All right. I've also never had this before.
Yes. So, yeah, I brought Rob beer from my hometown, Thunder Bay, Ontario. Sleeping Giant Brewery. Shout out.
It's good stuff. I like it.
Yeah, nice. I do too. It's great. It's good. I told you. You take the stout home and make a sugar skull.
I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of work, but I might do that tonight. It's my night off for the week, for the 2 weeks.
There you go.
So it'll be good. Okay. Where do we want to start?
Hey, man. Like I said, you fire away.
Okay. I'm going to take us back to the beginning of where I first was introduced to you.
Okay.
That was in a CrossFit gym that had, I thought recently opened, but been open for a few years. And was starting to get its legs under it. Are we saying names?
Yeah,
Can
sure.
I name a gym?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
man,
CrossFit
absolutely.
Bytown.
Yeah, absolutely.
I started there when it was 2.0.
Then you definitely would not have met me there.
What? Really?
Yeah, no. I wasn't there.
Oh, it was after I switched over to 3.0.
Yeah, probably. But I came to 3.0 just after they opened there. 2014, man. That's when I started there.
Okay, so I must have started like maybe 2012. Yeah, you got me on the comeback because I was there for like 3 months at the most, wrecked my back.
Right.
Took a year and a half off.
Really?
And slowly came back with Jesse. And it was at the new spot, but I was modifying everything. So I just felt like I felt like the worst. Like we would go in, everything's pre-programmed, everybody's all excited to do the same thing, and I would have to go like, what can I do instead for 1,000 things? Not fun.
Yeah. I mean, those people are like, they're fun. Now I love dealing with those people because now I can help them, make them feel safe. You know, I like doing that. Before I'd be like, well, just try your best. You know?
That's fair, yeah.
But yeah. No, now if you came in and your back was all fucked up, like I'd try to get you as a PT client for one, to make sure to figure out so you never have to deal with your back shit again, right? Because there are ways that you can do that. But yeah, no, it sounds fucked up, but I like when people tell me that they're injured. Because I'm like, ooh, it's a puzzle I can figure out. You know?
Yeah.
Because I've dealt with my own shit, my own injuries. Like, I haven't had any like really big like breaks or sprain. I mean, I rolled my ankle skateboarding in the pandemic. That was like a bad one for a month.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a bad one. But yeah, I had this weird hip thing a while ago, and like Couldn't train for 3 months. It was fucked up. I was limping. Like, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I swear a lot, just to forewarn.
I think that's okay.
Yeah. Anyways, my hip was all messed up, and I couldn't figure it out. But like, one day I just went in there after Christmas, and I was like, fuck this, we're figuring this shit out. I just used what I kind of knew based on who I was studying with in terms of like what I know about like muscles and tension and all that. And I was like, okay, do these exercises, be consistent with it. And a couple weeks later, I was okay. Although there was one thing I did where I fucking picked up a 100-pound sandbag and carried it for 20 minutes straight. Literally 20 minutes straight. I didn't give a shit what the fuck was going to happen to my hip.
Okay.
I was like, we're going to do this because this is the thing I know that will like if you've never done a sandbag carry, it's like a full body encompassing workout. Like everything, you need everything. And the first thing that always blows up on a sandbag carry is your lower back.
Oh, you just start like dumping into it and...
Well, think about it, right? When you're front loading something, you're being pulled forward, right? And if you don't understand how to use your I don't want to say core, but if you don't understand how to use your core properly, the only thing that's going to hold you up is like, think about like your back being like these wires that are like holding your head up from dumping forward.
Right.
Right? Okay, so things that help you not fall over forward are like obviously the back muscles, but like the glutes are like bigger ones that help that, and obviously the things that are in the front too. Like the structure that's in the front of your body that holds your rib cage up, right? So if you don't know how to use that shit properly, like what do you think is going to take most of the tension, right?
Yeah.
These guy wires that are your spinal erectors, right? And generally you feel them the worst, the places they're getting stretched out the most at, well, I wouldn't say stretched out, but contracted the most at the lumbar region, right? So
yeah. And that didn't hurt you then?
No.
Okay.
I mean, like my back was blowing up, but like some of the guys I was talking about or mentoring, they know, they teach you a way that's like, it's not pain, it's just discomfort, right? So like, why do you stop? If you're not actually in pain, like if it just like sucks and it just feels like tightness, why stop, And that was the thing I was thinking about the whole time. I was like, fuck it. They're back. It was in the middle of winter. Like in the gym, it was like they're back. So it was like the worst thing ever. Like if you've ever done a sandbag carry inside, it's the worst thing. It'd be like walking to that wall and back like 100 times.
The most I've done is sort of like farmer's carry with dumbbells or kettlebells, but I've never done an actual like sandbag carry.
Yeah. So think about this. Take your, like, I don't know. You have 100, what's something that would be like 100 pounds you have?
All the gear from tonight.
Yeah. So sure. Pack that in a sack and hold it like in front of you like a bear hug, right? And I will now walk for as long as you can.
Yeah.
Right? Without, and like just go through that mental battle of like, oh, my back's starting to hurt, right? And I associate back pain with, I'm going to be fucked up for a while because I had to take a year off because my back got all fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, man, I kept carrying it. And like, there's a couple times my hip gave out and I literally fell over on the ground. Just got, I said, fuck it. Got back up, picked it back up, carried it. And I'm not lying. A week, 2 weeks later, it was fresh.
Really?
No more pain.
Interesting. I wonder if that's because the normal reaction to things like that is to baby them and therefore not help them at all.
Yeah.
Do you think that could be it?
I don't know, man. I think we have a very skewed view of how pain in the body works. I think we don't understand what is just discomfort or what's actual pain. Like obviously if your muscles are torn and shit, then take some time and figure it out, but just know that's not the end of the world. Like I'm a very big believer of like surgery should always be the last option you seek. Yeah. There are many ways to fix yourself that don't require you to be cut open and like burned apart or like put back together, Yeah,
like avoiding scar tissue in the process, which is probably going to cause more problems down the road.
100%. Like you want to be able to maintain good range of motion all the time without like, having your spine fucking fused together.
Well, when I was saying that I broke both my collarbones at different times, the most recent time, this one, I got slammed on my like side of my head, shoulder wrestling, and I ended up with like a 1.5 centimeter gap between the two ends of the bone. And they tried to let it heal on its own first. They like gave me range of motion exercises. They're like, it's going to form this big mass of bone and just connect everything together. And it'll be uncomfortable. You might feel it, but it'll be okay. And then about 8 months later, they did another x-ray and they were like, it's not fusing. So then they had to do surgery. But in the meantime, I was wearing a sling and then doing some range of motion stuff, wearing the sling. And then the whole right side of my body just shrunk because I was not using it at all.
Yeah. So when that kind of shit happens, Now, just remember, this is my perspective on things. And I'm sure 100 people are going to disagree with me on this. But what happens sometimes, like obviously your muscles atrophy, right? But when you have an injury, right, what generally happens is that your body seeks safety, right? So you fucked your body up, right? It's not safe. So what's going to happen is your body's going to try to find a position where it's like, okay, where do things not hurt? Where do I feel comfortable? Where do I feel safe, right? So when you find that position all the time, your muscles start to shorten up, right? And like with atrophy comes weakness, right? So they just get short until you just can't, move as much as you did before. So you have to retrain all of those muscles, to go back to where you either once were or to where you're going to get to.
Yeah.
This new time.
That's exactly what happened to me. And the problem was that was sort of the end of my athletic career, which was essentially just trying different sports. It wasn't like succeeding in anything. After that one, I ended up being like a trainer for a different team. And so you can't like be on a varsity team at the same time.
Wrestling?
So, yeah.
Okay.
So that was like kind of it. So I never had access to like the physio clinic because I was at Western, where the varsity like athletes would. And so I just didn't go in for like rehab type stuff. I just kind of follow the same range of motion stuff and just let it kind of heal after the surgery and slowly just built up to doing things again. But it felt like it was never the same. And it was shortly after then that I hurt my back, like maybe a few years later, and went to a few different physio clinics. And it was more like pain relief type stuff. I'm sure there was like more to it with like mobilization and trying to help things heal, but I never really got anywhere with it. It was still like excruciating to get like in and out of the car a lot.
How did you hurt your back?
Deadlifts.
Yeah. Classic.
But it was, and this goes along with the whole thing you were saying about like core control with sandbag carries. I had no notion of what core control was. I just knew I had good mobility in a squat because I could squat deep and like hold it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I've got some mobility, but I never knew about proper bracing. So what happened was it was one of my issues that I had with being at the gym in the beginning.
No worries.
And it was that they were trying to be the gym that had the most people sign up for the CrossFit Open that year. So it was like, you doing it, you got to do it. So I joined, and then we were doing like some workout where it was like do deadlifts and something else, then heavier deadlifts.
Oh, probably
and then something
deadlifts
else.
and box jumps.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Deadlifts and box jumps.
So I was doing that, and I got to a heavier deadlift that I hadn't done since ever being in the gym.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like peaking on that day. Mm-hmm. And what happened was, after a few reps, I took a breather at the top of a rep, right? Because you're kind of like trying to catch yourself and go. And I was like kind of like extended my low back and like kind of let it like dump in a bit. And then I felt something that just kind of went like, how would you describe it? It was like
a bungee cord snapping?
Not snapping, but somebody firmly holding the bungee cord and it getting pulled through your hands an inch.
Ooh.
Just like
what's worse?
Like I can still feel it when I think about it. And I can almost like hear the kind of sound that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it was the strangest thing. So I felt the tiniest thing and I was like, oh, that was weird. And I think I just kind of stopped it there. And I was like, all right, well, that sucked. Like, couldn't do anything near that I thought. Not comfortable right now. And I got more to do. And then over the next like 5-10 minutes of just sitting there watching other people do the same thing, I was like, oh, it's starting to like throb a little bit.
Yeah.
Like something's going on.
Yeah.
And then by the end, I could like barely stand up. And I was like, oh, I fucked something up.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why yet until later. This is like back when, Kelly Starrett.
Yes, K-Star,
Yeah, because he became like super famous in like the early mid CrossFit years.
Of course, I have his book.
I got the book, fell in love with this guy, and realized all the things that I should have known before. And I never thought that, at the time I was like, oh, I wish like a coach that was there at the time would have been like, oh, you're going to do some like heavy stuff? Like, do I know that you have good mechanics? Because like I didn't know that if it looked good, it didn't necessarily mean it was safe. I was just like, oh, I've got mobility so I can do this kind of thing. And I'm like not rounding my lower back too much, so it'll be okay. And then something happened. So then I was kind of like, how did someone not ever like, look at my form and know? So it was like an anger type thing.
Yeah.
And then I kind of figured out like what the causes probably were. And then I just went, so like all of that was avoidable if I had this like base level of knowledge that I wish everybody kind of had, just so that they could be like active in life.
See, the funny thing about that, Rob, is that like 99% of humans still don't have that base knowledge. A problem, like a lot of big problems with like mobility coaches and whatnot, is that they show you the positions that you need to achieve. They don't show you how to generally achieve those positions. So mobility, just let me break mobility down for you in like a very simplest terms, right? There's two. So you can't get flexibility and mobility confused, right? Flexibility is like your passive range of motion, right? So like you're being able to do this, right?
Yeah.
Mobility is like, okay, flex all your fucking muscles and now try to move in that range. What is holding you back?
Yeah.
Right? That is the difference, right? So mobility is like range of motion under tension, under load. Okay?
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people have garbage mobility, right? They think they have good mobility because they can get their ass to the ground. But like, I'll pick 5 things up with your squat and be like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be squatting that low, especially if your back is always bothering you.
Yeah.
Right. So like, that's the thing. Like every time I go coach a class, whatever, it's like, I'm always watching people move, right? Why does one side of their hip lift up higher? Why does their shoulder roll forward on one side? Why do they hug their shoulder when they put something overhead? You know, why does their foot rotate outward when they do a lunge? That kind of shit. Like, oh, your foot rotates out? Oh, you just told me you have knee problems. Okay, well, you know, I don't like to speak in like, you know, absolutes in anything. There's always some kind of correlation in terms of the body, because you can't say this is why your back is fucked.
Yeah.
You know, there could be many reasons.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the kind of approach I take. It's like, so when I assess someone, we go through different movements, right? We'll go through like a squat, a hinge, a press, like what hurts. First of all, what hurts you the most, right? Like we'll figure out what hurts you. I'm not going to make you do the movements that hurt you, right? Because like obviously you'd never come back to me if I did that. We'll figure out like, okay, and then we have to break down movements of like, what can you do now to just achieve some intensity if you still want to work out, and to not cause you any pain? Because if you teach your body pain, right, then that's all it's going to fucking remember, right? Yeah. That's it. So things like a sandbag carry are super simple, right? It's a very simple movement. It requires almost no skill, right? And then you learn how to, like if your back always blows up on a sandbag carry, eventually you're going to learn and teach yourself different body positions to, like, I can tell you some cues how to not make your back blow up, but I had to do like 100 like over a lot. I don't know. I can't even give you a number of how many sandbag carries I've done, right?
Yeah.
Or how many walks I've taken, or how many meters I've gone with a sandbag to understand what I have to do to not make my lower back blow up.
Right.
Because it would happen to me all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And the heavier you go, eventually the muscles that you need to do it are going to just say, see you later.
Yeah.
Right. And you're going to go to survival. Right. Because that's what most people do when they work out, is they just try to survive workout.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing. Like I can go a lot deeper on that, but it'll sound a little woo woo. So I'm not really going to go there.
I think that's what, at the time that I was getting into it, which is now like around 10 years ago, I guess, is like that general like theory that you have was not yet in most places. No. You know what I mean? It's probably still not in a lot of places, especially ones that like have like pre-programmed kind of stuff where you can kind of just show up and do a workout. So I'm sure it's not where it should be. But in general, like if I look back to when I started working out in general, it felt like a free for all, like where nobody had any kind of knowledge other than like, oh, this one guy knows this one, 5-week program if you want to like get a better bench. And it was like that kind of thing, so you'd like follow it and you would like get something from it, but nobody was talking about proper technique on things or like general mobility before you even get into stuff.
Yeah.
So it was like a whole explosion of fitness knowledge that came out, and a lot of like trash too at the same time.
Yeah, you got to be careful with the whole mobility thing too, because like if depending on your goals, you could get away from being strong when you start focusing on form. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna have, like, number one, anytime you try to fucking hit a PR, your form's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Regardless, like you can go through the cues of, okay, I know what I need to do here, but when you start, when you go to war, right? Like, what are you thinking about?
It's surviving.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That's what it is. Right.
Yeah.
So like you go up to that 500-pound deadlift. Like I'm not going through the, 10 thing checklist in my head of what do I need to do to pick up that barbell, right? Pick like 2 or 3, be like, okay, just like, what is my weakest point? Focus on that as I try to go through that battle.
Yeah.
right? Like that's how I approach it anyways. Because if you focus on form mobility and shit, you're just going to set yourself back like, I don't know, however many years. I get like it's cool to know like, yeah, I'm doing things well, properly. I'm not going to hurt myself, but like what's the goal from that? You know, like where do you want to be going with that? Do you always just want to be lifting light ass weights and do like you're never going to get stronger, your muscles are never going to get stronger. You're just going to be able to know how to lift weights, cool, but like are you going to put that into practice at all?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's funny because at the time where I was like reading Kelly Starrett's book and got huge into like fixing mobility issues and like using like lacrosse balls and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Then it got to this is like years after that, I now hear like a lot of people talking about how a lot of that stuff is not the most effective and you can't win in some way.
No, you
even though I think in general, like the core body of knowledge is improving a little bit, but it still goes back. It probably goes back and forth because people are trying to make their own name off of it in some way. That would be my guess.
Yeah. I don't know, man. The thing that just came into my head, it's like, what's the best way to cook a steak? Grill, sous vide, frying pan.
Yeah.
What's the best way to mobilize? Whatever works for you. Awesome.
Yeah.
Go do it. Right? I could show you a couple things, and if you like it, sick, we can work on it. But like, if you don't, cool, that's fine too.
Yeah.
But whatever works for you, and whatever's working for your goals, go do it. Right? Go do it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Right? And if you want to learn other things and explore, I'm totally down with that. Dude, I love when people go and explore new things. You know, like that's what I did for like the last 5-6 years. Just explore fitness and explore different ways of approaching like lifts, deadlifts, back squats, all that.
Different ways of like actually lifting, or
like tell me when was the last time you felt your pecs on a back squat?
I couldn't tell you.
Exactly. There you go. Or like today, for example, I was doing deadlifts in my garage, and we said how many people can feel their pecs and their terriers or do a lat spread on the deadlift.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and how can you connect that to your core, and how can you connect that to your glutes and hamstrings?
Yeah.
How can you feel? Can you ever feel your calves when you deadlift? Right? How can I get a good calf activation on this 350-pound deadlift?
Yeah.
Right. Like the guys that I've worked with in the last 4 or 5 years, they have this approach of like you have to treat the body as a unit. So even though you're doing like a lower body exercise, how can you get your upper body involved at the same time? Right. So like the more you can use this, organism as a full blown unit, the better you're going to be at something, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just how I approach exercise and working out now.
Is that if you're, say, as the example of you're trying to get like more upper body involvement in like a deadlift or a squat, is that to benefit the overall weight you can move, or just to make it like more functional for your life?
Yeah, I think probably, I don't know. If I lift more weight that way, awesome. Yeah. But it's more about like keeping myself put together. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I don't sit like this all the time.
I'm trying not to
hard.
Right.
But that's the thing. Like I understand, I sit like this because I know how to like engage my lats properly. And I know it's part of my pecs and my obliques that keeps me like this, right? Like someone could sit like this and feel like chronic pain in their upper back, right? So it's not just, again, it's not about position. It's about proper tension.
Yeah.
Okay. Like where do you feel tension in your body? Right. And not like bad tension. Like a bicep pump isn't bad tension.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's good. Like you want blood flow. You want those things to work properly. Right. So that's just the way I look at things. Like how can everything I do in a day that involves me like moving, like every time I go for a walk, dude, the only thing not the only thing, but like one of the primary things I'm thinking about is like, okay, what's working?
Okay.
Where's my pelvis? What's working? Do I feel my ass when I walk? How does my core move when I walk?
Yeah.
Like my wife one time chirped me because she was just like, "Oh, nice hip sway, Taylor." I was like, "Thank you." I was like, it's like I was walking the catwalk or something, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like how can I? And like I got into running for a little bit. I don't know. I really don't remember why I stopped, but I was like getting into like distance running.
Yeah.
Doing like 3 to 7 Ks and stuff. And I guess I don't know. I've never experienced this like runner's high thing.
Yeah.
Because all I would think about when I run is like, what's working?
Yeah.
Right. But I would never get shin splints. Nothing ever hurt when I ran. My calves were a little sore here and there, but like sick. I'm using my calves.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's all I think about. Right.
Yeah.
And just finding that like, that engine that moves you. Like, how does everything work together?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that my opinion is that the best athletes on earth just subconsciously know how to do this. They just move better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And they can apply it to their sport. They've just found that cue that gets them to that next level where other people are always just searching for. It's like someone trying to fucking hit a golf ball straight. You're always searching for that like cue that made you do it that one time.
Yep.
And now you're just searching. You're searching, right? So like, that's just me, dude. I look for things all the time, right? And then you go back to the things that you did before. I mean, I'd never go back to doing CrossFit. I couldn't do it, right? But it's fun to kind of go play around with some of the movements and be like, okay, I'm going to do this movement now, knowing what I know now, right? Like that thought of always been like, oh, I wish I could go back to high school knowing what I know now.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm doing with exercise.
Right. Okay.
So it's like, okay, so if I wanted to train a CrossFit athlete and, every time they fucking snatch, the right side of their barbell is dropping lower, right? Why?
Yeah.
Right? Do you have a shoulder problem? Like a couple years ago, Brooke Wells, the CrossFit Games, blew out her elbow doing a heavy snatch.
Oh, really?
I think it was at elbow or shoulder or something like that.
Was it like visible too?
I don't know because I don't watch, but just in the community that I was in, just kind of gave that as an example of like they don't have proper tension here, and here. So the elbow or something the joint was taking most of the stress.
Yeah.
Right.
I've seen it happen in like Olympic lifting, like actually at the Olympics, like watching that, where it just kind of goes out. And I get it because like I guess you're at like the very peak, so that's going to happen. It's like pulling a hamstring when you're a sprinter. Yeah, someone's going to do it every single time, almost every heat. Like something happens. Yeah, so I get it at that point. Yeah, but
they don't have to, right? And this is my biggest thing with like professional athletes is like, why do you keep suffering from the same recurring injury over and over and over again?
I guess that's true. Just because someone is at like the top level doesn't mean it's not 90% because they're a freak and put in overall work. Like they could still be very well missing like some important basic stuff that they're just like not cluing into or just don't care about.
100%.
Like you see like, it's like every sport's going to have like a Phil Kessel kind of guy who can just like, you know what I mean? Just not care at all and still be an extreme talent.
It's God-given.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's so funny to think that there's people like that out there that just have that.
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild. It's very wild. Yeah, I agree. That's not me. I don't have that.
No, I definitely don't either. I wanted to, I would love to be able to just do at the very most 5 to 10K runs multiple times a week as just a general good thing. I've never had good running form. When we used to run for football practice in high school, I would get shin splints right away. Super heavy footed, big heel striker, never as light as I should be. And so it's like been like a constant thing. And I'm not working at it because I just thought it's probably like never for me. But long-term goal, I think it'd be fun to be able to just like go out and do that because I get sick of like, especially now with working so much, it's so hard to find time to go to a gym that either has programming at certain times because I can't fit it in because I'm a night person, like with actual work. Yeah. Or go into like a Good Life or a Planet Fitness and just like, now I got to figure out what I want to do. And I'm just happy that I pulled into the parking lot and had time for it. And then you go in and it's just like a mess, you know? And then all you do is if you're going to do, you're like, oh, you know what? I'll do some squats today. I'm in my head about just don't fuck up your back because you got a lot of work you got to do.
Is that what you primarily think about when you lift weights now? Is like, don't fuck yourself up?
Yeah. And I heard that's a huge problem is like, I don't know where I heard it recently, but it's like, the don't hurt yourself mindset or like the lack of confidence is like way riskier than just doing the thing. Yeah. And of course, how do I get over that when I'm just like, oh, just do it. I'm not going to hurt myself.
So let me tell you something funny, right? Like, and you're going to be like, okay, well, you're fucking lying to me. So, okay, I fucked my back up a long time ago doing heavy deadlift, right? First CrossFit gym, probably like 2010-ish era, right? So pulled a heavy weight for one. I was like, sick, felt good. I'm going to try it again. Right. Yeah. Same thing. So that's why I described the bungee cord feeling. Cause it was like, it was like someone just let a rope from my pelvis go, right? Okay. The back of my pelvis just go up my back. And I was like, that sucks. Like on my left side. So I've done that. I've injured that spot probably like, I'd say I could count on one hand probably how many times I've injured the same spot. Okay. I recently did it like a month and a half ago in my garage. Oh, lifting a sandbag. Yeah. Right? Doing sandbag deadlifts. So I heard it on Saturday and I was fine on Monday. Oh. And I went and did a 300 plus pound deadlift the next Saturday. Or
Okay.
I did a 400 pound deadlift 2 weeks later. And I was fine. No pain. Nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it the same, the feeling when you knew something happened?
Same thing. Just
Really?
literally fell on the ground. My wife and son were sitting behind me, and I fucking fell on the ground like an idiot. I was like, please move the bench so I can lie on the ground and cry a little bit, okay? But yeah, no, I lied on the ground, and my whole thought process was this, okay, so this is just your body placing tension where it shouldn't. One muscle is trying to save you right now. It's trying to keep you safe, right? So I calm myself down on the ground. Like I know I'm pretty big. I enjoy the breath culture stuff, right? Like I like, using the breath to either excite you or calm you down.
Yep.
So I knew how to like calm myself down with breath a little bit. And I just laid there in a position that didn't hurt, right? Where I knew I could like bring proper tension to the deeper ab muscles. Right. So again, when you have tension in one spot that sucks, right? You have to find the areas where you can bring tension to that make that spot suck less. Right. So when your back gets all fucked up, like your spinal erectors, you start to look at things like your psoas, so the big hip flexor muscles, and your obliques and your transverse abdominis, like the deep core muscles. So you sit there and you lie there and you're like, okay, I'm going to breathe through this. And like I was still fucked up that day and the day after, but not as bad as I used to, where it was be like I'd get fucked up and then I'd be like, I'm not working out for a week.
Yeah.
And I didn't work out for that week just to like keep my wife happy, and she was like, you probably shouldn't work out this week. I was like, yeah, you're probably right. And obviously like I'm not saying that I can fuck my back up on Saturday and still go train hard on Monday. Like I wouldn't do that. Like be smart about stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was crazy. I was like, okay, well, and the workout that I did the heavy deadlift on after, it was the same exercise that I hurt myself on. Okay. So going back to your point, I was very anxious and not very confident in myself to do the movement. But after the first couple reps, I was like, okay, I feel way more connected to my hammies and my glutes.
Yeah.
And now I know what I did when I fucked myself up because I wasn't paying attention to shit.
Yeah.
When I had a lot of shit going on, like I'm a new dad, right? So like all these weird thoughts and shit go on in your head when you're like just randomly doing stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I was like picking up the sandbag, and it was like the last couple reps of like the last minute of this whatever I was doing, and wasn't breathing properly, and I was just like out to lunch. And sure enough, maybe I didn't squeeze my left ass cheek hard enough, and gone, right? But then I was like, okay, going back to this workout, I'm like, okay, just go through it, do the first couple rounds, and see what happens, right? And it's fine.
That's wild.
Good. Yeah.
I wonder if it's just because, most people would think in that situation that they have to rest or rehab until they can do the same thing the same way that hurt them without it hurting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like without injuring themselves again.
Yeah.
Whereas you're kind of like, no, let me actually do the exact same movement, but with proper
tension,
focus and technique. And then that'll stop even the current injury or whatever from hurting me because I'm not putting extra pressure on it essentially.
It is that, and it's not, it's right now, how to move a specific way. Okay. Like you walk a specific way, you drive your car a specific way, you sit a specific way, probably ways that you don't even pay attention to. You deadlift a certain way, you squat a certain way, you do shit a certain way, like, cause you've always done it. You've never been taught how to just do it. You've been taught go from point A to point B, right? But you've never been taught how to get from point A to point B. And this is my biggest thing that I try to teach people is like, here's how you're going to get from point A to point B. Like, first of all, what is your goal, right? Like, do you want to learn how to use your lats on a pull down or a pull up, or do you just want to get from point A to point B? Because I can just show you how to get from point A to point B, right? Or we can go through the grueling, shitty process of like, learning about your body so that you never have to worry about fucking yourself up to get from point A to point B, right? And if I knew that now, I wish I would have like done that prior, because where I used to be in terms of like numbers on my lift have decreased substantially.
Okay.
But now I don't think I'm going to hit the same plateaus as I did before.
Okay.
Because of better movement patterns.
Right.
Right. So if I say I brought you into the gym and I got you to do like something that really, really made you super anxious, right? I could probably get you to do that and do it better than you've done before and be more confident in the way you do it just by showing you what you need to do, right? Not how to get from point, like your deadlift might be like from mid thigh to your hip.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be where you are now, not not essentially where you were then, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like you can't expect to just be like, okay, I'm going to go do a deadlift from the ground to my hip. You might not be able to like use your glutes from the ground.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why the deadlift, like, it doesn't make sense to me. It's like, who fucking decided that the bar needs to move from that height to your hip? You know what I mean? Like, everyone's trying to follow these competition standards.
Yeah.
That, like, why? Why? You're fucking Joe Schmo, the accountant.
Yeah.
Why do you care so much about lifting a barbell from the ground to your hip? You know, clearly you have other goals you want to achieve, but like, you know, it's not about that. You got to think about, okay, if you don't want to hurt yourself, okay, but you want to succeed in the gym too, you got to think about your body first and how you're doing things.
Yeah. I remember I finally went back to another gym that does like kind of pre-programmed stuff, but they do it like really well.
What do you mean by pre-programmed stuff?
I mean, you show up, the workout's there for you. They show you what you're going to do, and then you follow along with the general thing.
Okay.
But in this case, I guess probably a lot of places now do it, but it's like they work in the periodization in a way where you're going to do like 4 weeks where you're going to slowly progress on a deadlift, and then we're actually going to focus on like the squat for the next mini session. So you don't have to think about anything technically.
Right.
And I went back and started doing like a half sumo deadlift. So I was hands inside the knees, but not crazy out to the sides like I would get made fun of on Instagram for moving 2 inches. It was like an in-between.
Do people make fun of people for doing sumo deadlifts?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Some people do it tongue-in-cheek. They're just having a good time.
Why?
But I think it's because...
I love sumo deadlifts.
I don't think it's anything to do with like it being a sumo deadlift. I think it's when someone does it and says, I lifted this much and this will translate over to very similar in a traditional deadlift kind of thing. I think they just kind of want to knock them down a peg if they like look really strong. And then some people just want to be dicks. It's the internet.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I was doing this kind of hybrid where it was like as close to traditional as I could get with my hands inside my knees. And it felt so good. Never had a problem with it. And luckily, like the people that were there were like, oh, okay, you're doing that. Great. And it was like, it worked out really well. But I knew I was like avoiding trying to do like a traditional deadlift again.
Do you want me to tell you why it felt really good?
Why did it feel really good?
Because it's a squat pattern, and you are clearly better at squatting than you are at deadlifting.
Deadlifting?
And hinging.
That definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been good at that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no one's told me that.
Yeah, there's a specific group of muscles that are required for hinging and a specific group that are required for squatting. So clearly you were better at using the squatting ones. Because you said you had a really great squat, ass to grass, right?
Yeah.
Boom.
But it was like, somehow it felt like even though it was ass to grass and it was, I could never put up good weights. And I think I was just super quad dominant. My glutes like did nothing.
Clearly, if you hurt your back deadlifting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember being in high school when a bunch of us guys started like going to the same gym and we would just like all squat together and stuff. How terrible everything was. And just like, we did not know what we were doing because nobody knew.
The high school workouts were the shit. I remember the first time I started bench pressing and I was only coming down halfway with the barbell.
Yeah.
And then some dude in the gym was like, you got to go down all the way to your chest. And I was like, I was so pumped because I was doing like 135 for reps.
Yeah.
And I was like, went down to the chest and I was like, couldn't move it.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, fuck you, bro.
Yeah. It's the weirdest rite of passage that's the thing that happens.
Yeah.
I also was programmed by, I will not say who because it's related to family.
Okay. Don't sell it your family.
It was like, you can keep it simple. Just do like a few exercises every time. You should really just like be doing like cleans because they're a good like power builder, right? And I was like, okay, sure. And you couldn't even like Google proper information back then, which I hate dating myself in that sense, but that's the way it is. And so
we're getting up there.
So I was literally doing, I would say, a Romanian deadlift and then a strongman kind of like resting on the weight belt to the shoulders and then the overhead press part where you're almost like nipples to the sky. You're so far back, it's now just a bench instead of a shoulder press.
Yeah.
And I was like kind of doing that.
Yeah.
And then that's like the first time I ever hurt my back was doing that. One day we were in the basement playing pool, a bunch of the guys that used to work out together, and I sneezed. And it was the end of it.
It's the worst.
Yeah, I just dropped to the floor. Something in my mid back like died. And ever since then, every single year, 1 or 2 random times I'll do something, and then it's gone, and I go, well, down and out for the week. But I've been smarter since then, but it still like randomly happens. And I'm sure I did some sort of longer term damage because I was doing that for like a year before I hurt myself.
Yeah, dude, some people live with the same chronic pain for a lifetime and they just learn to live with it. They're just like, well, fuck me. This is going to be me. You know,
I hate that
I'm going to be
idea.
the guy with the back.
Yeah.
Right. But you don't have to be. You don't have to be. Like
Yeah.
you can find someone who knows what the fuck they're talking about and walk you through, okay, well, here's how you're moving, you know, this, and this, right? Like, it's just, you can. You don't have to be that person that chronically lives. You don't have to use the excuse, I'm getting fucking old. Man, that fires me up.
Oh, well, people still, every time, so as I was saying, I was 17 when this first happened. 16 or 17,
Yeah.
the first time I threw out my back.
Yeah.
So when it randomly does something to me now, same frequency, once or twice a year, ever since that age, people just go, you're getting old or old man. I get so, I'm ashamed of how angry I get at people in my own head. I'm never like that, like externally, but I'm just like, it riles me up so much because all I want to do is like scream at them. It's been happening since I was 17 and like, it's not getting worse. Like, why do you got to say that? I don't feel like I'm getting old. I feel like I'm doing better than I was before.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like the most triggering thing for me is that exact situation.
Yeah.
And I think people are just like, they don't realize, they don't know they're opening up a world of hurt.
No, they don't know.
They're just
they
like
don't-
joking
they don't-
around.
They don't know you, man. Yeah,
And I
they
have
don't know you.
like 10, 15 years of just anger, probably way more than that if I did the math, but yeah.
Yeah, back pain and anger. It's weird how they're kind of synonymous. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, my goal is to be able to deadlift 400 pounds at age 70.
Okay.
Like, that's my goal. Like, I don't have any goals. I mean, I have a couple goals right now, but like my long-term goal, like I want to be as strong as I am now
Yeah.
in like fucking 35 years.
Okay.
I think it's doable. And well, like,
Probably is.
I think it is. I legit think it is. Because I've seen videos of like fucking grandpas lifting 300 fucking pounds.
Yeah.
Right? It's doable.
That's wild. And then you're in like the elite because no one takes care of themselves past like we're sort of in the point now where a lot of people we know are just
Yeah.
like letting ourselves go.
Yeah, I had this conversation with someone. I don't remember who, but yeah, like between like 27 and like 35 or is the time in your life where you decide like, okay, either these are going to be my ways and this is how I'm going to live the rest of my life, or I fucking hate myself and I need to make some kind of change.
Yep.
Right. And yeah, so I've seen a lot of people just be set in their ways and just truck on, you know, and I hate it. I would never be able to be like that.
I had the saddest realization. This is, I don't know, anywhere in the last like 1 to 2 years because it's a recurring thing. So I don't know when it started, but it was, do you remember when P90X was a huge thing?
I do. Yeah.
And there were like infomercials and ads for it all
What was
the
the
time.
dude's name that ran that? Was that Tony Robbins?
No, it was Tony Horton.
Tony Horton.
Yes.
Yeah. Who the
But
fuck is Tony?
Tony Robbins is like the
Gazelle.
motivational speaker. No, Tony
Robbins. Sorry, yeah.
Tony
sorry.
Little was
Tony
the
Little,
gazelle.
yes.
Tony
There's too many-
Robbins
too many
is,
Tonys,
is like
man. Too many
the guy with the biggest bone structure in
Yes,
the world.
that's right. The biggest jaw ever.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Fuck. How did I forget Tony Robbins? I would love to be Tony Robbins.
I wonder how legit he is, but we can bring that up after because he could be very legit. It's just the way he's so confident that I don't trust him.
Yeah, fair.
And so no, this was Tony Horton.
Tony Horton.
And he did P90X. And there was one guy who did one of those testimonials, which like I always think are bullshit, especially back then. It's like when you see, remember Hydroxycut? Man, this is just a throwback show.
Yeah. No, please. Lay it on me. 'Cause
Hydroxycut.
I am a sucker for nostalgia. So please. Yeah.
I would read like, this is like, again, like late high school, I'd read bodybuilding magazines. I wanted to be like, my best friend and I wanted to go to University of Michigan and play football.
Wow.
And we thought we could.
Were you a football player?
In high school, yeah. But
Yeah,
like,
same. Yeah.
But never good, but we didn't have a good team, league, like region.
The only reason I went back to high school for a year or half a semester was because we went 0-7 my last year of high school.
Oh, so you need a redemption?
I needed redemption.
That's funny.
And I sucked. Like, I wasn't good. I played safety. I shouldn't have been playing safety. I hated hitting people. Like, I hated trying to tackle people. Like, I would have rather taken a giant hit than trying to hit somebody.
That's fair.
Yeah, I would rather have caught the ball. Like, I should have played receiver, I think.
Yeah. That reminds me of, oh my God, this is nothing but throwbacks. It makes me so sad. Anyway, you don't seem to care, so I'm just going to go with it and stop apologizing. NFL films used to be a thing.
Love it.
Where
dude, my life is NFL, so like, yes, please.
They used to have a thing just on their website that was like NFL films. You can go watch all these archived videos that they made.
I've done it.
Before you had to be a subscriber or like have like ESPN Plus and that kind of thing.
Yep.
And there was a guy who played for the Eagles.
Brian Dawkins?
No, he was a D lineman.
Ooh, because that's my squad, man. I'm an Eagles fan.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Oh, fuck, I wish I could remember his name.
What era, what years are we looking at here?
It's around the same time that, oh my fucking God.
Because you're right, you're 2 years older than me, right? So you would have been in high school around like, you would have ended high school 06, right?
Edit that out, but yes.
Okay.
Man, no, literally, yeah, it was 06.
Yeah.
It was at the same time we had satellite TV at home, and I got to watch the training camp for the Baltimore Ravens.
Hard Knocks.
Is that what it was?
Probably Hard Knocks, yeah.
And I want to say that their tight end was Shannon Sharp.
It was.
In that series.
It was,
And he had a mouth on him, and I loved it.
I fucking love Shannon Sharp.
So somewhere around that time when I was huge into football, the Eagles had a defensive end, and I forget his name, but in one of the videos, he was like literally getting interviewed, just talking about how much he hates hitting people. He's like, hey, it hurts. It's not fun.
Really?
He's like, I'm like really athletic and I'm good at it, but like, I don't enjoy that part. I just like kind of like chase this dream. And it was like the weirdest realization that like these people aren't necessarily like the crazy toughest guys in the world. A lot of them are, but like they can at least like every once in a while someone would admit something like that. And it was like this door to this reality of life as an adult that I didn't think was a real thing. I was just like, some people are born like little pussies, and then some people are born and like these like animals around the same time. Yeah. And then this guy says it. He's like a 280-pound defensive end. And he's just like, I don't really like hitting. It kind of hurts. and I actually think he was like a funny guy, but I think he was being serious.
Yeah, for real.
Anyway, I don't know. Where was that segue going? He said that. Oh my God. Where was I going with that?
I didn't like hitting people, NFL films.
Oh yeah, you didn't like hitting people. And I was just talking about the football and getting hurt. Shit, I lost it. Whatever.
Yeah.
I lost it. I got real nostalgic there. And it was kind of great.
I think we came from like being hurt for a long time, like being hurt from 16, 17, kind of living with it for a while. I'm trying to remember too.
I'm never going to get back to it. That's okay.
You got me real excited about NFL, bro. You're like, and I'm like, NFL films? I'm like, yeah.
That's like the last time I watched it. I was talking to, so I like worked at Lululemon for several years. And one of the guys I worked with maybe 3 years ago he played for the GGs. I think he might have been a DB. And he was, first of all, I gave him credit because I was like, he was like the size of DBs in my high school team. And I was like, oh, you're playing for like a legit university team now. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
No offense to him if he ever hears this, because he's a good guy. I'm not trying to say he's small, but he probably weighed like 170. And so I was talking to him, and we were casually talking football. And of course, I think I mentioned like Bill Romanowski. Do you remember him? Because he was one of those guys that was the first that I heard of that did all these weird things to try and stay in the game when he got older. So he was like ordering like these shark pills and eating all these random things and doing a shitload of steroids.
Oh yeah,
like a crazy amount. And at the same time, he had like also a crazy amount of concussions.
Yes,
but he was like also like a legit tough guy. And I know. Sorry, Bill Romanowski, I have to leave this topic. But where I was going was, so my uncle played for a few teams in the NFL.
No way.
And his last year, if not his last 2 years of college football at Boston College, were winless.
Really?
And he still got drafted after that.
Wow.
So that's what it was. You were talking about like going back for that extra redemption year, and I was like, not a bad move.
Yeah.
Because like if you're out there like trying, like people will still see you.
And legit, if I could offer any advice to like kids who are 17 right now, go back to high school for another year.
Don't take the extra year.
Take the extra year, man. Yeah. Don't go like kids going to like teens going to university at like 17, 18. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
You're not even old enough for frosh week,
it's
man.
So crazy to think.
Like, you expect to have your life figured out by 20? Come on.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm fucking 33. I still don't know what I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm doing something, but like, what do I want to do? I don't know.
Yeah. I never would have thought of that at the time. Oh, I'm going back again to another thing I forgot.
Yeah.
This is not age related. This is probably fatigue and beer related.
Perfect.
I was watching the P90X commercials.
There we go. Yes.
We got
it.
I still have it.
Yeah.
And you know what's really funny is, I better not go too much of a segue, but sometimes I'll try and think of like, oh, I saw this movie this one time. Who was that guy that was in it? In 10 minutes, I can't think of the name.
Yeah.
And I go, this is it. This is getting old. And I might have very, very early onset, like Alzheimer's, and it's happening. And I actually go there in my head. And then when I think of that name half an hour later, I'm like relieved. It's scary games that you play with yourself. Anyway.
Oh, I know the spiral.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
great.
I know the spiral. Don't worry. Don't worry, bro.
So P90X, this guy comes on. He's one of the testimonials. First Hydroxycut, sorry. Hydroxycut. the bodybuilding magazines.
Just 90s fitness. Here we go.
They would show the first guy, and he would be like standing there with his lower back dumped, gut hanging out. Like you've seen the guys on Instagram that do that thing where they
before
gut
and afters,
out and
yeah.
they go slowly suck it in
Yeah.
until they have like abs, like the real bodybuilders that have like thick abs.
Yes.
So it's similar to that, where like the before and afters were the most staged things in the world. And I just didn't know that. Like the world was like pulling the wool over my eyes. And I was so annoyed when I realized it, that you would have shit lighting. It was more of a photography realization. Shit lighting, you make a sad face, you stick your gut out, you let your shoulders roll forward a little bit. And then the after picture, often taken the same day.
But before.
Because
they'll get them to eat like a fucking bucket of ice cream.
Yeah. You got like your pump going, temporary tan. I don't really know if they did that or if it was just color correcting in post. And you look happy and you're flexed and you've got your little swole. And I couldn't believe the difference between those two and how shit like that marketing was and that it was allowed.
It's still happening today.
Yeah.
What do you think Instagram is, man?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Do you follow Goobu? Goobu too?
Yeah, bro. I love that guy.
Oh, see, he does what I
guy.
needed 10, 15 years ago. He does it. So P90X. This is a brain challenge for me tonight. P90X. This guy was doing the testimonial, and he's just like sitting in his house, and he's like, so I like finished my college sports and just got married, had kids. Kept telling myself I was gonna, stay in shape, and I just like kind of lost it. And then I found P90X, and I did it for like 90 days and turned myself around. He's like, I'm 33, and I'm like now in the best shape of my life. And at the time, I was like, you loser. I was like, why didn't you just keep working out? Like, obviously, you can get into good shape. Like, why didn't you? And then when I think about it now, I'm like, holy shit! Like that would be me if I like started to like really focus on it and like actually try to make a change. Not with P90X.
Yeah, but like the guy who was 33 then probably looked like he was 50.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. The world's different.
Very
but
different.
It's just like, it's so funny that's the impression I had of a guy like that. I was like, you're telling me all those years you were just like lazy and couldn't do it. I was like, man, when I'm old like you, I'm never going to let that happen.
Yeah.
And then it happens.
Yeah, it does.
You just forget. And then all of a sudden you're there and you're just like, damn, that guy did a nice turnaround. He looks good now.
Yeah.
Sad.
It's wild, man. You're right in a sense, because I had that same mindset when it came to like playing the drums.
Yep.
Right. My dad even chirped me one year. He was like, "Oh, I wonder what your interest is going to be next year." I was like, "Fuck you, Dad!" Like, But no, like I had a good career of playing music. Like I went to university for music. I have a music degree, right? So, when I moved to Ottawa, I just fucking stopped playing music.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if it was like circumstance or environment, because I was living with a bunch of people and I was like, I don't want to make a bunch of noise and fuck people's day up, you know? And then I moved into an apartment for 5 years and I was like, can't do it here either.
Yeah.
And now I have a room where my drums are set up in the basement. And then, I set them up, and actually I moved in and I fucking set them up like 6 months later. I guess you're always going to have interests, and you're going to have things that like were your identity for a while. Right?
Yeah.
And you're going to still have a passion for them. But like, I think I was reading or listening to something about this the other day, and I was like, that makes sense. But like, you're always going to want to go back to the things that you did like and think like, oh, I'm still good at that. I can still be good at that. But like, fucking just move on. Find something else. Like, go hit a riff here and there. Or like, if you're playing guitar, right? Yeah. But just move on. Find another interest. Like, find more time. Find something else to dedicate your time to that you want to dedicate it to. Don't be sad that you suck at something that you used to be good at. Yeah. Right?
I did the exact same thing with guitar.
Are you empty? You want another one?
Oh, yeah. Should I? Yeah. Sure. Why not? Yeah, that happened to me. It was moving to Ottawa for grad school. Brought all my stuff. And I was like, ever since undergrad, I was always living with people. So you could never really like play a lot. You had other stuff to do. And you're just like, you knew you were past the point of when most people get into this is going to be their career. Like when you're in a band for life kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's the weird thing about being like a teenager is that you truly think that like this is the time where you like make or break, and then you have to like adult later. And like, if you don't do it now, like you won't make it. Like when people decide like this career is not for me, I'm not going to make it in like a sport or something or a band, because most of these bands form and these guys are like 16 to 20. They're like committed to it. Yep. And so you just kind of assume that if you don't have it shortly after you start, you're not one of like the chosen ones. Yeah. And you just totally forget that like, no, actually, if you would have just the entire time you were thinking about it, just kept playing and practicing, you'd be just as good as those guys that are famous. You just might not be famous because the odds are still slim.
That's one of the things that I think holds a lot of people back, is that greatness takes a grind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of it's luck, and you're never going to know when your time is going to be, ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I could keep, and it's very discouraging sometimes, because you could go fucking 10, 15 years doing the same thing and never make it. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden that next day, boom, there you are.
Yeah.
Right? You get the one shot. It's life, man. It's so fucking random. You never know what the fuck's going to happen.
You hear how many people who get somewhere and are real about it and talk later and say, sure, I like had a general talent and like an aptitude for something, and then I busted my ass, and then after all of that, I still got really lucky. Mm-hmm. That it's nice when people kind of say that. Because you know that just like those people in any other walk of life would be just like a regular person. Yeah. It's like the most refreshing thing and the most annoying thing that you have to get to a certain point before you realize it.
It is, yeah.
And then because you're just like, I could have been a lot more relaxed earlier, or been a lot more confident in like chasing something and not thinking I was crazy for it, because you could have still chased it and had a backup plan in your head, or been like, I'm going to give myself this amount of time to do something, and then I'm going to try something else.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I would have known that, I sort of wish that somebody would have like said it before. Like my dad would have been like, you know that these adults, they're really not that different from you. They still wish they would have done the thing. If they would have kept with it, they would have had a better chance, all these kind of things. But no one ever said that to me.
I wish my parents would have told me what being an adult was like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I fucking wish I would have heard that, listen, being an adult kind of sucks sometimes, and you're not going to know what the fuck you're doing ever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm literally going to tell my son that. Be like, listen, like, you don't have to figure out what you want to do right now, but just know that in like 10, 12 years, life is going to creep up on you, and you're going to have a hard time, and it's going to be what it's going to be. But, you know, I'll be here to help you, and that's that, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I wish that my fucking parents didn't make it seem like, you know, life was like fucking butterflies and rainbows. I wish there was more of like, yeah, shit's going to suck, like big time. And I don't know what's going to happen to you, but maybe you'll have to figure out, maybe you'll be set, whatever. But being an adult is hard as fuck.
Yeah. My dad told me one time
it's mentally hard as fuck.
Yeah. We were talking about, I was like reminiscing on a time where one of his friends from his job, he had like the same career his entire life from like a few months after graduating university, which is a rare thing for sure now. But one of his friends had like a really nice car. And I was like, you remember that time that I was like telling you like, oh, that guy's got such a nice car, and like, how does he get that? And your response was like, no wife, no kids. And he's been doing the same job for like 20 years. Like he can buy like a slightly better car than the average person. And I was like, I think that's what I want. I was like, I kind of want that car. Yeah. And like, that was my mindset. And I could tell he's a very calm guy, but I could tell he didn't love the idea that I was like, oh, that guy's cooler who otherwise is the same as you. But he's like he's like, whatever, you're a kid, you're saying these things, like I'm not hurt by it.
And you don't know what insecurity and anxiety and shit is like that. And you know, your parents are going through the same, like what you experience now between like fucking 27 to 35, right? Your dad experiences the same thing, and he still experiences that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so does my mom and your mom or whatever, right? And you just don't have no idea.
Yeah.
Right? Like your dad's comparing his life to that dude's life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And at the time I'm sitting there like, oh, I guess I could do what you did, or I could do what he did, and I have the choice. And it's like, well, no, probably not. Like, life's just going to happen to you, and whatever happens, happens. Like, that guy had like 2 divorces, so no wife, no kids now, but like, he's been through some shit too.
Yeah.
And so my dad was telling me that, he's like, yeah, there were a couple times where my company wanted to promote me and move me across the country to take like a way higher paying job. And he's like, I didn't really want to like take you guys out of your school, and like, I saw like what happens to like kids sometimes when they have to change schools all the time. It's like pretty rough. And I was like, oh yeah, thanks. And then now I'm just like, Jesus Christ, that would have been like probably the hardest decision he made in his life up until that point.
Yeah.
And at the time I was just like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I liked my school. And it's just the weirdest thing that he could be like so nonchalant about it.
Yeah.
It's part of the whole process of I want to go back and apologize to everything I ever said to my parents my entire life. Just like, oh, the time you didn't buy me that thing and I was all mad at you. Like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you just don't understand.
Yeah, like you are now, when you had me, you are now where my friends currently are.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I can't believe they don't just murder their children sometimes because of like how crazy things are. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's that kids are different today than they were like 20 years ago. I think there's definitely some differences in like maybe parenting.
Yes.
But at the same time, I think everybody got just as angry with their kids as like they do now.
Yeah, man.
Like Lucy K, I think it was Lucy K who said, sorry to bring him up, people, but
hey,
he's a great
back.
guy.
He's back. Is he back?
He's back. He's fine.
He got uncanceled, right?
Everybody's over it. He was talking about how like, oh, I used to hate when I was like sitting on a plane and there's like some screaming kid. And he's like, get your fucking kid off the plane. And then now he's just like, man, if that parent would have smacked that kid in the face and like jammed him under the seat or whatever he said, he's just like, yeah, I'd get it. I understand.
Yeah, dude, trust me. Like I said, Leah and I, we just had it. He's 5 months old, right? And when it's a weird thing, right? Like you have no idea what your body just changes. Like your cells change. You know what I mean? Like you love this thing, but also you sometimes want to just kill it because it's like you can't take the sound sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You get frustrated for no fucking reason sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying sometimes. You're like, why am I getting so angry at this thing that has no idea what it's doing?
Yeah, this poor innocent thing.
Yeah, like why? I don't get it, right? So like the months like 1 to 3 or 4 was hard, but now it's like, okay, you know, you start getting like a little rhythm or routine. You start realizing like, no, it's just me. I'm just being all fucked up. Like generally with most things in life, it's just me, right? Yeah. Like that's one of the biggest things that I've tried to adopt lately is like, one, don't take shit personally, right? Because if you do, then you're going to hate a lot of people and, you know, a lot of life. Just don't take shit personally. Like if you do, like you need to work on some stuff, right? And a lot of the decisions a lot of what happens to you in life, like yes, some of it's out of your control, but there's a lot of things that you can fucking control. Like any choice you make is within the realm of your control, right? Yeah. And whether that's a good choice and you reap the rewards of it, amazing. But if it's a bad choice, you have to face the consequence stuff and just understand that like I made this choice. Now what can I do about it?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Growing up's weird. It's weird how you learn these lessons, man.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's annoying, but I guess if you were to try and like sit a kid down who's like early teens and be like, just wanted to give you a heads up because I wish I had it, that like life's going to be like this. I don't know. Would they even really listen?
I don't know that, or they'd fucking have some kind of crazy existential crisis and not know how to deal with that.
Can you imagine?
Like,
you totally mess with their head.
You could fuck your kid up. Big time,
they're just like, oh, so what you're telling me is like, from this point on, things get shit. Like more and more every year.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's why people try and like protect them and be like, oh, you'll learn someday, but like now is not the time. It's like, are you overprotecting them, or can they handle more than you're actually giving them? And I bet that's just
I think it depends on maturity level, you know?
Yeah.
You see your kids mature and you see where they're at. Like I've met I work with some people who are like 19, but I'm like, oh, you're like 30.
Yeah.
You know? And
that's
probably why your anxiety is so bad right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it's just sort of some people just mature at like different levels based on how they were raised or who they've been around.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I wonder if the I guess the way that like people are raising kids now is in the end going to be the exact same as those who did it like in the last generation. Like the kids will turn out just as fine, but since we were the kids and then now we're like the parent age, do we just think that it was different before, or is it all going to be the same? You know what I mean? Like, is it every generation that says, oh, kids these days, something, and it's all going to be fine? Like, do we just become like the grumpy old men at some point? Or is there like a real thing that's like, I think we need to like maybe like be a little like more firm and solid in what we're doing?
Yeah, I think it's that.
I
think you see trends as you get older, right? Because like, you know, you don't have kids in your 20s. I didn't have kids in my 20s, right? Some people have kids in their 20s, right? And you just see, and especially if you have someone in your life that works with kids a lot, right? Like my wife's a teacher, right? So she works with kids who are like, you know, between the ages of, well, I guess she did some kindergarten here, but mainly like 11, 12, 13. And like, I don't know. I don't remember being a dickhead when I was 12 and 13. Like, I hope my teachers never had to go home and just crash on the couch and be like, fuck my life.
Yeah.
You know, I hope my teachers never. I wanted to be a teacher, dude. I really did. I got an education degree.
Yeah.
And I did my placements, and I think I did them in the wrong. So I did them in the schools that I grew up in. And like I had my old teachers as my.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had my old teachers as my whatever you call them,
mentors in a way or whatever.
Yeah. But one was weird. Her husband was like arrested for some crazy ass drug ring.
Okay.
That happened like years prior.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know. She was like checked out, and the second one was retiring that year. So he just didn't give a shit. So I had like no guidance. Like obviously I could have done more for myself in those situations, but going back to the whole kids thing, I like paid attention to the kids and I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I want to deal with these things. And now hearing about how like, when I was getting into high school, I heard about fucking student teacher fights happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I was in high school, my football coach and I, like at 10 p.m. at night, would play Madden together.
Oh yeah,
legit. Yeah, okay. He would text me and be like, "Hey, we want to get a game," and I'd be like, "Sure, no problem."
Yeah,
right. And he'd call me and tell me, "Fuck you, you shouldn't have fucking won," you know, like it was what it was. Like no one thought anything of it back then, right? Like everyone just, I don't know, maybe it was my fucking town or whatever or my city, but nowadays, man, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
that would never fly.
No,
that would never fly.
Yeah,
right. And it kind of makes me sad in a way because like I had some good relationships with my teachers. Like I wanted to be the person that these kids like looked up to and like aspired to be.
Yeah.
Now it's like you're just babysitting people for like, 6 to 8 hours a day and hope that they learn something.
Yeah.
They're learning more from their phones, I think, than they are from school.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
I think anyways.
Yeah. So do you mean that in the sense of, like people just wouldn't, or kids aren't at the point where they could do something that you did, or that teacher couldn't do it because if anybody found out, it would be like your job's done kind of thing?
Yeah, basically. Okay, yeah. Like bro, if I was a teacher and I was like messaging my students at 10 p.m. at night and people found out, come on.
Yeah.
Dead.
Do you think that's because since we're more connected now, we can hear about when that happens more often? Or do you think it is happening more often that there's like people who are like crossing that line?
I think if the hypothetical situation where it was like or teacher messages student to like play video games at 10 p.m. at night, someone would just be outraged by it.
Yeah,
then I think there's certain emotions that take over more than others. You know what I mean? And it's just like you won't be able to help it.
I wonder if that happened, like say there was an example of that happening when I was in high school. They would have maybe printed a story in the paper about like, PTA, whatever, parent-teacher activities, whatever they call that, the parent-teacher organizations, whatever they have. Association? Yeah, maybe that's what it is, yeah. Like organization upset with teacher for playing video games with student. So it's like, oh, the town might talk about it, and they're like, maybe that's it. But I don't know if people would have really cared. You know what I mean? I think it might have been like just the mentality at the time is like, oh yeah, that happens.
Bro, back when I was in high school, I remember seeing on the news to actually get in trouble as a teacher, you actually had to fuck your student.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah. And I barely heard about that happening, but like sometimes. And that's such a good point. I was in grade 7 and myself and my best friend, the two of us that wanted to go to Michigan to play football, our grade 7 teacher was, it was his first year teaching. He went to University of Windsor and he played football for them, but he was like their kicker.
Yeah.
No offense to kickers. It's a very weird position, but he was really good at it.
Yeah.
And he was probably like, I don't know, 5'8", 5'9", and ripped. Like he was like the fittest guy we'd ever seen. So we thought he was the coolest. Like, oh, you're a teacher. You definitely started dating one of the hot teacher at the school who she coached our basketball teams.
Okay.
And everybody used to like always talk about how like when we were doing drills and she'd be like, don't forget butt to gut. You got to box them out. And then she would like do it like this, like all the guys would talk about it. Like she definitely touched my dick. And so this guy started like, we think he started dating her because they're both like, I don't know, 24?
Yeah.
Something crazy.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like even you should be allowed to cheat yet.
Oh,
it just seems so young now, you know what I mean? But so anyway, we thought he was the coolest. And one day, this is just a random side note. He was like very into like the aesthetic of like working out aside from just playing football. Mm-hmm. So he like started this trend among a bunch of the guys about like they all wanted to shave their legs because he had super jacked legs. He was like a sprinter. The guy ran like, he was a kicker, but he ran like a 4.4. He's a fast guy.
So just an athlete.
Yeah. And so he reminds me now of like Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, if you remember him.
Yeah.
But like I don't think he's actually crazy. And we were like playing pickup basketball after school one day, and we're all just kind of hanging out. And then he goes, all right, how do we want to divide the teams up? Like, oh, let's just play like shirts and skins. And then he rips his shirt off right away. And he played like shirtless for the whole game, and like the other guys just like, oh yeah, I guess we'll be skins with our weird little like milk bag bodies. And so like we thought it was like so cool, and nobody was just like, oh, that's weird.
Just normal.
Yeah. We were like, oh, he's a weird guy because like he's like super athletic, yet he's a teacher. Like it's like the thing where you're just like, well, why aren't you still playing football? You couldn't even like do the CFL or something. Like you just have these weird assumptions about people that like they didn't try. Anyway, so my friend and I hung out with him like a few times. He took us to his gym when he moved to Windsor. Mm-hmm. So, because my one friend was going to go to Windsor eventually because we knew Michigan wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And
the closest thing.
Yeah. So he like put us through like track workouts at his gym. We like went to his house and like had lunch the one day and like just like kept in contact a little bit until like he had a couple kids, went to a new school, and he would have been like, I don't even know, like late 30s by then. And then we kind of like lost touch. But it's just so strange that like there was nothing weird about it ever. He was just like, I'm new to teaching. These kids kind of like me. That's cool. I can like mentor them in some way. Maybe he was just like, I want to have kids someday and like, you know, teach them all these things. So he was like using us for it.
Yeah.
And I just like, it makes me kind of sad to think that like maybe that couldn't even happen now. Like you'd have to be so careful.
Very.
Or because you, not only that, like not only would you not want, say, other teachers to like hear about it without you telling them first, but you also just wouldn't want one student who's like mad at you to be like, I can put this person on blast and then they're done.
Yeah.
There's like so much power.
That's like my biggest fear because I did all my education stuff for high school, right? So I would be teaching high school. So my biggest fear as a male high school teacher right now is getting called out by some girl for literally, I mean, like being like, sup, you know?
Yeah.
How was your day? Oh, he touched me. Done.
Yeah.
Done.
Yep.
You know?
It's scary. It's like, it's good and bad.
Yeah.
Because like, so happy if something happened and you feel like you can say it, but so scared at the fact that if something doesn't happen, you can still say it. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know if there's winning in that situation, but
I hope it changes.
Yeah, you need like a whole cultural shift of people to just be like, let's just sit down and think about this for a sec.
Yeah.
And like, unfortunately, sometimes it will come to like, was that specific thing, was that really that bad? And you have to actually you have to think about that. You really actually have to think that specific thing that happened, how bad was it truly if I don't just look at how quick of a headline I could put it into.
Yeah.
And it's really creepy to think in like most jobs. Like I work at a school now, but it's not that kind of, it's like mainly older students, so it's not weird in the same way. But I still have to consider it. Even if it's just like the way I would joke with my friends, you got to watch like what jokes you say.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like, dude, I work in a gym around a bunch of different people, right? So like,
yeah, true.
If I say something that, you know, say someone doesn't align with their values and beliefs or doesn't find, like, because I like to make jokes, right? Like I've been fucking cracking jokes all night, right? And a lot of the time I like to make really inappropriate jokes, but a lot of people don't appreciate inappropriateness, right? So if I say something stupid and say someone's like, well, I'm never coming back here, you know, how does that look, right? Terrible.
Yeah.
So working with people, like you kind of just have to, the biggest thing I think with working with people, you really have to just know your audience.
Yeah.
Right? Know when to just, know when it's okay. Like I think I had a conversation with one of the members at this new gym I'm working at. And she was like, oh, how do you like it here? I was like, oh, you know, I've only been here for like 1-2 months. And I'm just learning about, you know, who I can really be myself around. Right? Because no matter what you're doing, like what we're doing right now is a performance, right? Like really, we're not authentically being our authentic selves. Like we are in a sense, but we're also not.
Yeah.
And at work, it's the same thing. Like you put on the mask of like, okay, who do I have to be right now? Because my true self would be on my couch playing video games.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, true.
Like a lazy fuck.
Yeah.
Right? So part of me, like, but when you go out in public, like, yes, you can be yourself, but yourself is everything that you believe in, everything that you want to say and really aren't afraid to say it. You know what I mean? Like, who are you behind closed doors, right? So it's like trying to figure out who would you let behind that door and like who would you be like, okay, you should probably stay outside because you will wreak havoc upon my shit if you come in here.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's got to be like, I guess the stakes are sort of higher when you're trying to make those decisions now.
Yeah.
On like this person that I'm sort of comfortable with in this new place that I'm in, like I would overthink it. I've done that a little bit, but in like I won't specify, but one of my more recent positions I've had, there were a couple people there that out of nowhere just cracked some random joke. and I just died. And it was a mix of that was funny, unexpected, and such a relief.
Yes.
That you just said something that I was probably already half thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I would have said this right now in this situation. And this person just did.
It just makes you feel so much more comfortable.
Yeah. And it was just like a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
And I've had a few of those in like the not too distant past that made me like super happy with what I was doing.
Yeah.
And actually in a couple different places. And it's just like, it's so weird that like you were holding on to that thing that whole time, like at work. And you didn't really necessarily think about it. You're just like, I'm being professional. You know, just like, how am I going to start this email? Hey, what? Like, what's the next word? Like, what do you even put? And who do I have to consider in this?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden someone just like gives you that like moment, just like, oh, I needed that.
Yeah.
And it's such a small thing. I wish it didn't have to be that way, but it's kind of nice that like you can still find that. And then you find afterwards when you like talk to people on the side, when you now identify those are ones that you can like joke around with a little bit and like have a good time.
Yeah.
You can have a conversation in other times and you're just like, oh, this is great. It's like a little niche, like a little pocket of relief sometimes.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like when you go and, do your job, but you can also go to the break room and be like, got a great joke for you guys.
Yeah.
Like, so-and-so did this. What a dickhead.
I was at some place at some time in the last 5 years, and we were sitting there. A few of us were kind of chatting, and this one person, very unassuming, much younger than the rest of us, but like in the same business. And we were sitting there chatting, and there was like a deadline coming up for something. And we weren't sure, like it was going to be stressful to like make this thing for the deadline. And then they had to submit this thing, and they were just like, if this doesn't go through, it's just going to be like, it's going to be the worst thing ever. 9/11 part 2. And just like so deadpan. And I didn't react visually.
Right. Yeah.
But inside, like my heart was warm. I was so happy.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious. The reaction from like this person's personality was so unexpected. It was like a perfect comic relief. And then everybody else didn't know what to do. And the most fun part about the whole situation was being like, okay, I get this person. That was amazing. And now I just get to watch everybody else like squirm and like, what do I do? Do I have to say something? Am I the one who has to be like, hey, you can't say that?
Well,
and like no one could enjoy the moment. And I just like look over and I'm just like, that was great.
But I bet you any money, like most of those people too, were probably wanting to just crack out laughing. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like in that kind of scenario, it's like, okay, who's going to be the first person that laughs?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be the first person that laughs because how is everyone going to think of me? You go through all this narrative in your brain where you're just like, right? And that's when it comes down to like, do you actually give a fuck about what people think about you?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're going to laugh at that.
Yeah.
Just, it's funny.
Yeah.
Right?
No, exactly.
Inappropriate shit's funny. Just be okay with it.
That's the way it works.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Right?
no, like it's rare that you find someone who makes clean jokes that aren't related to very good timing that are funny.
Yeah. But the thing with jokes is timing is a part of it.
Yeah.
Right? If it's there and it's just like, if it's like the fruit is just so low it's on the ground.
Yeah.
Just fucking make the joke.
Yeah.
Right? And laugh. And just laugh. Laughter is good for the soul.
Yeah. Just be like, oh, you know what? So sorry. That was a little offside, but like had to say it. Like, please don't hate me. And then, like, it would have been perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But it was like, that was one of those moments where I just went like, okay, I think this place is going to be like,
I'm going to fit
fun
in
enough.
here great.
Yeah, exactly. Just because you know that there's like this secret society of people that like are on your side in some way.
Yeah.
It's a shame that it has to be
Yeah, it's
that way.
they call it the silent minority.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like everyone just like, I think a lot more people think like you, but a lot of people just don't like to speak their mind.
That's very true. Yeah, I guess that goes for almost probably everything that's in the world in general right now is kind of like, most people are probably on a generally similar page, but like some people are definitely not, and you don't want to mess with them.
The people who are, the people who are
them.
not are generally the comment section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the downside of like social media and things like that.
Fuck yeah.
And no wonder people are like more anxious now because it's just like, you really got to watch yourself. And if something happens, you probably feel like you need to like something happens that's a little, say, controversial, and you're just like, oh, we all need to show like what side we're on. Because like we'll be judged next.
Polarity is not good, man.
Yeah.
Polarity is not good. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's destroying the world, I think,
Yeah, I would agree. It's like if we look back, we would always know someone's like uncle or something who always made like an inappropriate joke, was a little weird, and you just be like, oh, that's kind of annoying that person's always around. And that was kind of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but also like there are inappropriate jokes that land.
Yeah.
And ones that are just like, ooh, like,
yes,
you're actually racist.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and it definitely happens, and it's a shame that it's like it's harder to agree upon when that moment actually happens.
Yeah,
and it's
But I think,
tough.
but that's the thing. Like I think you can feel the energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's just like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have said that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I always worry that because of the way that is, I'm just gonna end up with my circle of friends will just be like the most rude, like kind of like bro-ish people, and like way over the people I would have hated in like high school, just because I feel like there's like a little freedom in there, and then I'm just gonna be like associated with this group of like degenerates. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a weird fear to have, but it's kind of like there's people that the whole time have not cared at all what other people think.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of changed a little bit, and those people still don't.
Yeah.
So you're just like, oh no, like that's where I gotta find solace in like those people. And I don't want to be associated with that.
Nah, man.
So it's like, it's a tough place to be in.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
This has been a great conversation, by the way.
Right?
Yeah, it's flowed very well. I think we've been doing very well.
Despite the fact that it's like almost 10 o'clock at night, which is actually kind of early for me, but I was up at 7 this morning, probably 8. This is why I want to do this. Yeah. Whatever it becomes.
Yeah.
And just with like, hopefully the magazine and stuff being involved in there, it's nice to be able to just have conversations that like can take more time.
Yeah.
Whether or not we're like on a very specific topic and like informing somebody of something.
Things grow organically is good.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Tell that to Danny, who wants to grow organic things in the house all the time.
Is she a big plant girl?
She is, and she's like almost like the now Instagram stereotype of like wants to have a farmhouse with chickens and all sorts of animals and deal with all that. And I'm all for it. If I can afford it, I would do it. But it's funny how it's like there's like a movement of that, of like people that want to do that. She's definitely one of those.
I'm getting very random posts popping up on my Instagram. You know how Instagram just gives you randomness now?
Yeah.
People having cows as pets.
I've seen pet cows and pet goats, and I don't understand how you do it unless you're not showing the fact that you live on a farm and you just brought one in the house for a day. But I think they're real pets sometimes.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. But I'd be like, because this one almost sold me. It was very, I was like, damn, that cow's fucking cute, man. Like, it's fucking cute. I was like, just a shame you're so goddamn delicious.
Yeah.
I
didn't realize how young most pigs were when they get harvested,
they're young.
processed,
They're
whatever
young,
it is.
man. Even
like
cows,
a year or
even
two
cows,
or something like that at the
months,
most. Yeah. And I just like, oh, that's like so crazy. But like, obviously, if you wanted to be like the good person who like goes a little bit further, I'm going to let my cows be 3 or 4. It's like, well, that's like half the profit. Will you even be sustainable if you tried that? So it's like very difficult.
I watched a whole documentary on steak one time.
What was it called? It wasn't Forks Over Knives? There's a few that I've seen, but they're all older.
I think it was International.
Okay.
Actually, what was it called? I don't remember, but I was on Netflix 2015, 16, somewhere around there. And this one dude in Spain lets his cows go for like 10 to 13 years. And he's like, these cows get sold to Arabian princes. And he just,
they've been so like, I guess, naturally aged in some way.
Yeah, but he's like, listen, he's like, you have to understand that like cows, like they're like any organism, right? Like how their environment is going to affect the way their muscles are, right?
Yeah.
So if they're always stressed out, you're going to get very not what's what I'm looking for, like rough, tough meat.
Oh yeah.
Whereas like if you just like, that's why Wagyu is so good, because they fucking feed the cows, keep them like calm the whole time, play them fucking like, spa music and shit.
Yeah.
So like, that's why it's so tender. I could be wrong, but this is from what I remember from because he goes to like Argentina, Kobe, Spain, France. Apparently France has the worst steak because apparently they like lean meat. So
okay.
Yeah.
So just like the way they raise them in a way that they prefer, but it's like not good for us who like something else.
Yeah, it's not like it would just be like eating boot leather apparently. So
okay, that's no fun.
I could be wrong. Like if you're from Paris and you hear this, I apologize, but this is what this documentary had showed me. So
the Is it a good thing that he lets them live this long? Obviously, it's like morally it feels good, but is it because he makes a ton of money off?
Yeah,
his
I think it just because he makes a ton
Yeah.
of money. Yeah,
I guess if you can monetize it in the right way,
but
that
I
would be
think
great.
but it was crazy because you should see him talk to the cows. Like he's like that dude. He's like don't go near him because he'll fucking get pissed off at you. Yeah, no, it's wild. Like it's like a mastery. You know what I mean? It's like watching someone who is a fucking master at what they do. Like It's like I'll sell this cow here because I know this is what it'll turn out to be like. But the cows that he's like looking after, dude, they're like as tall as this room.
Oh, okay.
You know, like they're
monsters.
Huge.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be so great if you had the finances to do it. Because if you consider like vet bills and property tax and all that, it's like most of the people I think who are able to do it, it's like you inherited some land from your family that bought it at an affordable price at some point. And like now it's like you cannot do it now. You would like it's actually something, it's like a retirement plan now if you've made a lot of money in your life. You're like, I guess I can homestead now.
Yeah, and you hear a lot about like I wouldn't want to be a farmer. I wouldn't want to be a farmer. I hear a lot of them like just I don't know. I think that there's some kind of correlation between farmers and suicide. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't remember where I heard that, but I know that like if there's like drought or like this is your like
that's true. Yeah,
to like life's work.
Yeah,
and you don't have anything else.
Yeah, like most of your earnings and savings are probably tied up in equipment.
Yeah,
and like you're probably living off of loans in a way that like sure if one day you just decide I'm going to sell everything I own, then you'll have money. But until then, I bet you're like living paycheck to paycheck in the same kind of way.
Like think about how many farmers there could be and how many do well and how many just don't.
Yeah. Yeah, so true.
Right? Like, I'm going to start the sustainable farm. Yeah. Grow like grass-fed meat. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. I can open this gym too and help people.
Yeah.
How's your business going to do in a year?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And now they have sort of the social pressure on them too.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you have that farm? It's just like, well, like, do you put sunscreen on your animals when they go out to tan for the day, or like are you rude? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like they have that extra pressure. It's kind of like because you're like taking care of like living things.
Do they eat Kentucky bluegrass or Bermuda?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I feel like golfers would know more about that.
Oh, well, I golf, but I don't know shit. So
golf is one of the weirdest things in the world because
I fucking love it.
It's sort of like it's like bonding over like a mutual torture kind of thing. It's very social. Everybody secretly wants to be really good at it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're all sort of saying, we're also going to drink while we do this and bond with each other and kind of forget a little bit about how much we wish we were really good at this. Yeah. And it's just like just a weird thing. It's like a bygone tradition that not bygone because it's still going on, but like that no one seems to be able to like change in any way. It's like so ingrained you can't get rid of it. Yeah. And you love it and you hate it at the same time.
I wish it was cheaper, dude. I wish more people played golf. Yeah. Like I wish it was accessible to like more people, I think more people would have a better time in life if they learned how to play golf.
You think so?
I don't
know. It's too stressful for me. I really don't think I get relaxation out of it.
I love it. It's because I love challenges. You know what I mean? I love being able to like, okay, how can I be better at this?
Okay.
Right? I got so obsessed with golf for a couple of years. So obsessed. Like I was like watching chronically on the YouTube, figuring out how to like, how can I hit the ball straighter? Like how can I bend it? How can I just do this? And just, I don't know, man. Honestly, the thing that helped me with golf the most is learning about movement.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Fucking totally changed my golf swing.
I could see that making sense because if you look at some of the best golfers now, they all have some of the best trainers who know this stuff. Whereas before, I think it was just like muscle memory and repetition.
Well, what I tell you before, right? Like the best athletes are the ones who's fucking just subconsciously know how to move well.
Yeah.
Right? And they just, if they like, okay, you could say like, I could show you a squat, right? And you could do the same movement as me, but I'm going to feel something different than you feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could squat with my quads. You could squat with your glutes. Yeah. I could feel my hamstrings. You could feel your core.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. Like when you see someone, they could have an identical golf swing, but one guy's like, okay, well, I got to shift my hips here. The other one's like, okay, I got to pull my elbow in tight.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess, yeah, it's almost like a personal customized challenge in that sense. Which is kind of
like
nice.
How do I make myself better at this thing? Right? Like and you can never be perfect at it. That's the thing. Like if it was perfect, you'd be able to put the ball in the hole off the tee. Right? You can never be perfect.
That's true. Yeah.
I did hear though, I think it was a YouTube video that I watched. It was like being good at golf is boring.
Yeah.
Because once you like start hitting par and stuff, you're like there's more excitement to me trying to hit a fucking weird low cut out of a bush onto the hole than there is for me like, okay, balls in the fairway, balls on the green. I can see how it could become very monotonous. But like I think you just find new challenges. You know, let's look at anything. You just try to find a new challenge for yourself in what you're doing.
Do you think that's why someone like Tiger Woods like went off the rails? Because he was just like so good. He was like, what am I going to do now? Like, do you think, or do you think it was other stuff? Do you think it was just like personal life just bled into it and he had money so that
maybe he just, I remember someone said Tiger Woods wanted to join the military at some point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he wanted to be like a Navy SEAL.
Well, he was already golfing before.
Yeah,
I guess it has to be because he started so young.
While he was golfing. But I don't know, man. I think some people just have a weird mindset of like, I don't know. I mean, I guess, would you consider him an addict? Probably, eh? Sex addict?
I don't know. I lean towards he was so successful that it wasn't a thrill. All he could do was fail. So it was more like, don't let people down at this point, instead of like, oh, do you think I can make this title or get back-to-back titles or be the youngest to do this? And now it's just like, you're already like legendary, but you're still young. So like, what are you going to do with your life now? But just keep golfing?
But go fuck waitresses in Denny's parking lot?
Yeah, I don't think you can ever separate just like being a guy from like a sexual thrill in some way. Yeah. And I bet it was a release. And like because he can't start maybe at the time he could just start like DMing like famous people and like trying to start that.
DMs existed.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just like contacting someone's rep,
pigeon,
some model's rep or something, and then just like saying like, oh, I'd love to like talk about golf with you, and you got to be like still careful in that sense. I feel like it's like a compromise of like, I really want this.
I don't know. Just ask every dude who cheats on their wife.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, great question.
Why?
Yeah. I feel like if you could do a study where you could, I'm sure someone's done it, but I feel like I just haven't seen it, where if you could ask all these people that, like, what would you really gather from it, and would it help anything?
Yeah. I mean, there could be a multitude of reasons.
Yeah.
Right. It's probably just personal too.
I bet it is. I bet you'd see like some trends that just come down to the differences in general between people.
For sure.
I was thinking about this actually really recently, that when I was growing up, my parents had a book in the house called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Okay.
Super famous at the time. The guy did like all the talk shows and all that. Probably made like hundreds of millions, because I think it was like one of the most famous like psychology related books at the time. And I think I need to go find it and like read it just to see what was in it. Because if it was controversial then, people would hate it now if it's sort of explaining the dynamics in relationships based on these stark differences between like men and women. I feel like it would be like an interesting read now. But it just made me think I really want to read that.
Should.
Maybe you can settle this debate based on golf and fitness.
Okay.
I was talking to a friend of mine who's like an avid golfer, way better than me. And he was kind of talking about, because he's sort of in the, he's in the sports world, more in baseball, but with like high level athletes, and deals with like the training that they do in more of like an administrative kind of way. And
okay.
so, I know. I'm just trying to be vague because you never know who's going to be like, why'd you say that? So we were talking one day about golfers and how like Tiger Woods is like probably one of the more jacked looking golfers of his generation.
Okay, yeah.
Everybody else was just kind of like a dad bod
like a fat
type thing.
Old white dude, yeah.
Yeah, like John Daly was like a great golfer.
He is an outlier.
Yeah, and I still love that guy.
Yeah, me too.
So we were talking about Phil Mickelson.
Yep.
And he was saying like, you know how much effort and training these golfers put into their lives? And I was like, I know that, but I still think the majority of their day is spent hitting a ball and focusing on that.
Yeah.
So I really don't think they're phenomenal athletes outside of the part of them that's very body aware with their specific skill. But I don't think it would translate over to other things. And he's like, oh man, like pick a golfer. And I was like, oh, like Phil Mickelson. He's like, he's stronger than you. And I was like, you're telling me that a bit of a NARP, right? Non-athletic regular person like me, but who weighed at the time like...
Sorry, I've never heard that term
before. Oh,
before.
really?
No.
Oh, it's one of our other friends used to say it all the time. I assumed it was like a regular thing. Non-athletic regular person.
Okay, let's
what
go.
You become after university sports, essentially.
Wow.
And so he was... I kind of said, like, I don't care if he trains every single day. I'm sure he does very sport-specific stuff. But I bet if we just, like, benched with each other, and I'm just, again, a regular person who's just like weighs a lot more than him, right? Like 6 foot, like at the time, like probably 240. Even if I'm not training regularly, it's like I bet I could bench more than him. And he was 100% no. He's like, no, he has like a little extra weight on it, but he's like way more of an athlete. And we were so opposed on it. And I was just like, how do you not agree with me on this? He's just like, no, they train all the time and it's like really intense. Like even if it doesn't look like it, he's there. Anyway, thoughts?
Yo, yeah. You have to give me a solid definition of what strength is. Because if you're just matching bench presses, like you're out benching Phil.
That was the example.
You know,
was just like if you take like any kind of measure of like strength or something.
But the thing is, they're both skills. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
like you're not. He's going to be stronger than you probably rotation wise for sure. He's gonna out rotate your ass any day of the week.
That's fair.
You know.
Yeah.
If he spends the rest of his time practicing the bench press, maybe he'll outbench you.
Yeah.
But because that's a skill, you know what I mean? Strength is a skill. That's what people don't understand.
Yeah.
Is that what do you define as strength? Right? Because I've seen people that could deadlift 700 pounds but had struggled to pick up a 300-pound sandbag.
Fair. Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay. So like what is strength?
I would say the way I was describing the argument when I was there with him was in the sense of if you were to put us both through like the NFL combine,
which
like
is a terrible measure of fitness.
True.
By the way.
But okay. But in that one, that's at least standardized to some extent. Who would do better? And I don't know.
I'd love to see that. You and Phil Mickelson.
I mean, Phil Mickelson in the combine, that'd be so sad. As long as you didn't get like Snoop Dogg to be the commentator like he did with that boxing. Remember Mike Tyson when he boxed
Snoop commentating anything I think would be great.
But it was like Mike Tyson, it was like the comeback fight, like when Mike Tyson was already in his 50s. Him and not Sugar Ray Leonard. Roy Jones Jr.
Oh, yeah.
And the two of them
just happened like recently.
A few years ago, max, yeah. Okay. It was like the beginning of like the sort of like influencer boxing
world. Everyone does boxing now? Yeah.
But they fought, and he was just so like mean. You know what I mean? Like kind of talking like, oh, it's like my two uncles, at the cookout fighting.
He was talking shit.
Yeah. And it just like annoyed me so much.
Shit. Man, don't let that shit get to you. It's all good.
I picture that's what he would do to me if it was me and Phil Mickelson at the combine. For sure.
People would talk. Dude, it doesn't matter what you do. You could be great at something, someone will talk shit about you.
I did a 40-yard dash at a football camp in grade 10. I went to Boston College because that's where my uncle went, so he like hooked me up with going to this camp, and I think I let him down so hard.
Really?
Oh yeah, I ran like over 5 seconds on the 40.
No, you didn't.
Yep.
Dude.
I'm pretty sure that's what I heard, but I never went to see the result. I was so ashamed.
I think my fastest 40 was like 4.9, and I was so pumped. I was like, I got under 5. I was like, yes.
I had it in my head that I was about 4.9, but then I was pretty sure one guy was just like 5 fuckings. I was so sad. I just had zero like confidence with that. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, when you're all your life is football, and the measure of how good you are is how fast can you run 40 yards.
Yeah.
What do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Right. They still measure that shit.
I find that really strange.
So do I.
Like the only reason I see them doing it is like a formality of just like, we want to show how like the more modern guys are still like breaking records athletically, but who cares? It's just marketing for football.
It is. Like my opinion on the NFL Combine, it needs to be revamped into something completely different. Like there needs to be game scenarios. You know what I mean? Because guys, they're Combine warriors, man. Guys train for the NFL Combine, like as an event. You know what I mean? Like,
starting in high school they do now.
Yeah. Like I remember I was doing Combine training, and I was like, and it made me no better of a football player.
Yeah,
0 better. Like 0% better.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it's weird how that is. I get like your acceleration time could be one of the more beneficial things to know. So maybe like doing like a shuttle run or something.
Yeah, but like is a fucking 200-pound dude hanging off of you when you do that?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. How can you actually like organize your stability to like
it's not hard. Put them in scenarios that they're going to be in.
Yeah.
Watch them watch how they react. It's like put a mouse in a fucking maze. Watch how it reacts. It's not it's not fucking rocket science.
Someone's definitely going to revamp it at some point and make $1 million off of it.
I hope they do.
When they do. That'd be so interesting.
I really hope they do. But we're still going to have the 40.
The 40 will never go away.
It'll never go away.
But I think that's like, it's like a pissing contest.
Yeah.
The guys just like, you want to know. You don't want people to stop doing it because you've grown up with it and you want to like have a general concept of like where you stand in the world with a 40.
Yeah.
I still think some of the best players have a great 40, but there's probably 1,000 other things they would test well on if they actually tested them.
Yeah.
They would show that like you're like a real fucking athlete and you're quick.
Yeah.
But like there's been guys that have been super fast before and just they don't make it anywhere.
There's been
so you don't hear about it.
There's been it's just, again, I think randomness prevails with the NFL and all professional sports. Like, you could be the best athlete ever and then just get to that level and suck.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's like you can't handle the pressure. You get too anxious. You know, it's like you just can't do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, think about going to, like, you know, you're killing it in university. You're ready to take on the world of, you know, the corporate world. You get to a job and all of a sudden, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right? And you get all anxious about it and you're like, shit, I'm failing hard. And you can't deal with failure because you've never failed before.
Yeah.
That's a big thing too, right? Failure. How do people deal with failure? If they've never failed, it's going to be totally novel to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I guess if they were to add in like far more psychological content to it, like a combine type test to like do something like one of those studies where, like, you know, prisoner's dilemma type thing. They mess with your head in some way to see how you deal with stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be fascinating. But all these athletic people would just be like, fuck off, nerd.
Yeah.
Like, we just want to see, like, we want to see how strong you are.
It'll get there. I think it'll get there.
You do?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, with all the, like, think about it, right? Like, this whole mental health, like, I don't want to say the whole mental health thing, but like the mental health realm of things is very new still.
That's true.
It's only been around for like I haven't heard people talk about mental health since I moved to Ottawa, and that was 10 years ago.
Okay.
Right? So I didn't hear shit about mental health in Thunder Bay.
Is this in the sense of sports or just
no,
life?
and just in life
everywhere.
in general, right?
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea what anxiety was, what depression looked like, all that shit until I was here, right? And that's in the last 10 years because you just hear about it more and more and more, and
yeah,
it's just thrown at you, right? And the way things are going, you're definitely going to see people focus on things like, how does this dude's brain work, right? Sure, his body works amazing. How does his brain work, right?
Yeah,
because you can't have a guy who, like, I'm with CTE and shit. Like, I guarantee you, football down the road, it's either going to be touch, number one.
Yeah,
because that's kind of what it's trending, or it's going to be like, okay, we're going to do aggressive brain scans to see if you are at risk for like CTE, or, you know, and if you are, sorry, you can't play.
Yeah. That's going to be really interesting when that happens, because that's going to be, because it's such a popular sport.
Yeah.
That's going to be the time where, like, the old school and the new school have to, like, have a specific battle over things, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's people now that kind of say, like, oh, people are too soft now in general.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the general difference between them.
Yeah.
But then there's a legit complaint to be made about how football players are treated and expected to, like, keep playing through things.
Yeah.
Even though it would be at a financial cost to the team. So there's like a real argument in there, but you know the two groups that are going to be spread out on it.
That's why dudes, like, want to be paid. You know what I mean? Like, they just, like,
while they're in it for their short career,
give me the contract so I can make sure that I can pay my fucking bills.
Yeah.
And I'm all for that. Like, get paid.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're literally throwing your bodies at each other at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But this takes me to my next point, which is why hockey players don't get paid more than they do.
Why they don't get paid more?
Why they don't get paid more than, like, NFL or NBA.
Okay.
Like, they're on skates.
Yeah.
Right? They're accelerating at each other at, like, you know, insane speeds. Right?
Yeah.
You don't think they get fucked up?
Yeah.
You know? It's wild. Hockey's a wild sport, man.
It is.
I wish I was more into I honestly wish I was more into it, but
You're just not?
nah, back in the 90s I was. Like, when I just find that I just lost interest, man. Like, I used to be big into hockey. I was a San Jose Sharks fan of all fucking teams.
Interesting. Okay.
Very interesting. I like underdogs. I really like underdogs.
Okay.
And, like, I was watching the playoffs one year and I was like, you know what? Like, there's two things that'll help me pick a team. It'll be like, where are they currently?
Yeah.
Right? And what are their team colors?
Yeah, that's fair.
You know?
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So, like, the Sharks, like the teal, the black, all that, I was like, damn. I was like, that's a good ass color.
That's so weird.
But then when
I definitely wouldn't agree with that, but that's fair.
But then when I realized, like, I can't watch a game because it's at 10 o'clock at night because they're on the West Coast all the time, I was like, okay, I gotta pick a new team.
Yeah, that's
like,
fair.
Yeah. I don't know. I just fell out of love with hockey. I like playing it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love playing it, but, like, it's kind of like golf too. Like, I love playing the sport, but just you'd never catch me, like, sitting down watching, like, 4 hours of golf or watching a full hockey game, unless it was the playoffs. Like, I just recently started getting back into hockey again because when my family and I went to New York in January because the New York Islanders had this, like, 50-year alumni anniversary. My dad played for the Islanders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Fun little fact. And so we went there in, like, January. And I was like, fuck yeah. I was like, I'm going to be an Islanders fan now. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah. So that year, you know, they made the playoffs. I started watching it, and the hockey season has started now, and I haven't watched a single game. So
okay.
I just think that with sports that, like, have more than, you know, 60 to 70, 80 games a season.
Yeah, you got to commit.
No, I'm like, why would I watch a regular season game that doesn't fucking matter?
Yeah.
Right? Whereas like football, you get 17 shots.
Yeah, that's true. It is definitely more intense in that sense.
It's like a drama. And plus, like the whole NFL films thing, like, it's like it makes it so that it's very immersive. Like you know what's going on. You know?
Yeah, they did good things with their budget even back then.
Yeah.
My dad always used to talk about how he starts generally, unless he's like bored, he's retired now, so he can watch more, but he only used to watch playoff hockey. He's like, they actually finish a check in playoff hockey because they are trying to conserve their bodies because of how many games they have to play. So it's not quite the same because it's mutually agreed upon that you're going to try and be the better team, but you're not going to risk anything necessarily. Unless you're a player who like might be like on the verge of like getting cut kind of thing.
Like in the regular season.
Yeah, the regular season. Yeah. It's just like you're all kind of playing it safe, just trying to like shake it out safely and see who's going to be better. And if your playoff spot starts to become in jeopardy, then you might be like a little more aggressive about it.
Near the end of the year, boom.
Yeah.
Everything
and then
matters,
it gets better,
right?
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like cut the season down by like 30 games and you'll see, better hockey or better basketball.
That's true.
Better baseball. Like 160 games or
something insane, yeah.
Why?
I don't know. It's just calming to watch sometimes.
Mind you, like most of them are standing around.
Yeah.
But
I guess that's true. But yeah, I mean, for pitchers, it sucks. Although I guess there's like, you got a good bullpen, but of a lot of people, but still, that's a scary position.
Yeah, that's another,
it's like, you know it's going to happen. Tommy John is in your future, no matter who you are.
Or you're getting decked by a ball. One of the two.
Yeah, true.
Like line drive, oh my God.
Yeah, that's scary.
You know how fast that ball's coming out of your hand, how fast it's coming back at you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the reaction time of baseball players is insane.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Insane.
And I think it's, despite what doesn't look like a super physically, a sport where
like a
true athletes would dominate kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is because it's like America's pastime. So many people play it growing up that you still do get some of the better athletes. But I think that's the reason I stopped sort of watching hockey, is when I decided that like it's a very niche group of people that get into it, that if you look at like the NFL, because of how many people play it growing up, you're actually getting the best athletes who choose to play this sport. Mm-hmm. So I just think it kind of like with hockey, it was just like, you're very skilled. Like I could never do it. Good for you. But I think I'd rather watch these guys or watch like rugby players in Europe or soccer players, because like, that the talent pool was so much bigger that you had to be something special to like get to where you are.
Yeah.
In some sense, you know
Especially
what I mean?
In soccer, for sure.
That's soccer. Yeah, definitely.
Insane. Like
anybody can play. It's so accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. But like you're good, you're fucking good.
Yeah. And when you look average, when you're still a pro, like that person is just like levels above somebody. Whereas in another sport, like maybe not.
I love when the average human's like, that dude sucks.
Oh yeah.
He's still like performing at the highest level possible, even if he's like the 7th bench warmer.
Yeah.
He's like still millions of times better than you.
Yeah. It's like, it's the same reason why I started, or why I'm more interested in combat type sports now. Not doing them, but watching them.
Yeah.
Because I know, like you see maybe 5-10 years ago, some ex-NFL players would
try and get
into heavyweight. And they would be like, nah, not bad. But like their general physical ability would take them fairly far. Mm-hmm. Like you might be in a championship fight 5-10 years ago. But more and more people are getting into it now that you're seeing like the athleticism like rise to the top. And guys who once might have pursued like pro football are now like, I'm not doing well enough in college football. Let's switch. So you're getting like some of these like really good athletes. And now you're doing like the ultimate sport of like trying to dominate somebody one-on-one.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, it's blown up so much in the last 10 years. Watched it a ton in high school, stopped because everybody else who watched it was a douche. Just like real bro-y type guys. And I hated the atmosphere of like the people who watched it. And then started getting back into it when it became more of like a legitimate sport. Yeah. And now I think it's just going to go crazy.
Yeah. Do you watch Bellator?
I watch a little bit. Like I would say I more watch the highlights of main events.
Okay.
But the only actual events I watch are UFC ones.
That's the only thing I watch. Like combat sport wise, that's the only thing I watch, because like one of my really good friends' little brothers is a fighter in Bellator.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
like,
He's
nice.
just I anytime he fights, I'm like, okay, that's the only thing I'm watching. So anything else other than that, I'm like, whatever. I don't know, man. Sports is a weird thing for me. Like the only sport I dedicate any time to is NFL.
Okay.
That's it. Like anything else, and maybe a little basketball, but I don't watch it. I'll just watch the highlights and shit on because I'm in like a fantasy league or something, you know?
Yeah, fair.
So,
That's the only thing that kept me in sports for the last like few years.
Yeah.
Was being in fantasy leagues and like not getting murdered in them and being like, oh, I'm good at this guessing game.
yeah, basically.
So I'll just do it.
Basically,
And it was like a social thing.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Love it. I love sports gambling. It's great.
And the gambling part is definitely blowing up. I played a little pro line in undergrad, and it was fun because you put like $10 in, and like you always did okay. But it scares me too much now.
Yeah, it's pretty aggressive now. Like I do like a $1 bet every Sunday on trying to pick the spreads for every game, and it pays like what $15,000 out.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, but you never get them right.
Well, I guess that's true. Yeah, I gotta get them all.
Like the odds are stacked heavily against you.
Yeah,
you know, and so it's like if you get them all right, man, sick. You're not rich by any means, but you pocketed a good amount of cash.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you lose, you lost $1.
Yeah, and it makes it more fun to watch the games. You got
Yeah,
a little bit of money riding on it, even if it's like $1.
Yeah. It depends how emotionally invested you get in it, because you're like, kick the fucking field goal.
Oh yeah, true.
You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a good point.
yeah.
I wanted to ask. I have no idea how long we've been going on for, but you went to teachers college.
Yeah.
You also studied music.
Yeah.
Was that like an elective, and then what happened, or like was it a teachable kind of thing? And then why'd you switch? What happened to it?
Oh no, so high school, I just didn't know. Again, just going back to the whole thing of I don't really know what I want to do.
Yeah.
Right. Some people want to be lawyers, some people want to be doctors, some people want to be accountants. I don't know. Some people just want to be whatever. I was like, I like music. I was playing in a band in high school, right? Like my friends and I were in like a metalcore band, and we were having blasts. We were playing gigs. Yeah. And we were like, do we go on tour? Do we go to Manitoba or like fucking more northern Ontario, or do we buy a van? Right? Like that was our mindset back then. And then, I don't know. At my last year of high school, I was like, I like football more. Right. This was like one of my regrets in life, is I should have stuck more with music than I did with this dream of like trying to be a professional athlete.
Okay.
But yeah, no, like coming out of high school, I was like, okay, well, what did I take in university? What was I good at in high school? Music. Right. That was one of the biggest things. So I was like, this is like what I'm into right now, and let's go do it in university.
Yeah.
And that was it. I just did 4 years of music in university with like a couple of random electives, and I was like, what do I want to do after I'm done at university? So I tried to do like a master's in performance in terms of like orchestral music. So I applied to Ottawa U, and I applied to fucking the University of Hartford.
Oh, okay.
Randomly. Yeah. I don't know why. Didn't get into either. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna try to teach music.
Oh, okay.
So in high school, I remember talking to one of my cousins one time. I was like, yeah, I want to be a music teacher.
Yeah.
Right. I really did want to be a teacher at one point. Right. And that was that. I was like, I finished my 4 years of music. I was like, all right, I'm going to go do education, see what happens with that. And I did my education degree. I met my now wife when I was doing my education degree.
Yeah.
And she's from here. She's from Ottawa. I was like, well, I don't really want to be in Thunder Bay. Like low key, like I could have stayed in Thunder Bay. My dad knows a lot of people in Thunder Bay.
Okay.
Right? He's like, it's not a big city. It's 110,000 people, right? And if you have connections, you have connections, right? Like my dad probably could have got me a job as like a fucking supply teacher, where I could have like worked my way up in the schools. And I was like, cool, I'd be stuck in Thunder Bay my entire life. That'd be sick. Great. So I moved here. In 2014. And my parents just expected me to be like, yeah, you're going to go try to be a teacher in Ottawa, while I was working in a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know, man. When you really have a passion for something and you like chase after it and you're like, this is what I want to do. I just don't have passion for teaching. It would have been like me just getting a job. Yeah. To make my parents happy.
Yeah. So I'll do this, make them happy, make a little money, and then I can decide what I actually want to do.
Yeah. 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 Or I mean, I could have I could have been really good at it. And I could have been maybe happy in it, but like seeing where the education system went, how kids end up being, and where I seen my wife come home every day after school like so exhausted, being like, I'm dealing with this kid, albeit maybe it's a school, but I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want that. And I actually enjoy what I do. I enjoy helping people, and the path I've taken and the way I do things, I really am passionate about it. Like I think that I could help you be more confident in your body in terms of like lifting weights, you know what I mean? Where you don't have to worry about fucking yourself up again. Yeah. right? I can show you different ways, but it would take work.
Yeah.
You know? And that's my preach. That's my passion right now. Like, that's what I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I, when in doubt, could I still go be a teacher? Yeah. It's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Right? It's funny. It's like I remember I set this plan in high school. I was like, plan A, be a music teacher. Plan B, I don't know. Or sorry, plan A, like play in a band. Plan B, be a music teacher. And plan C, open a gym or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like still on my way to plan C or something. So,
okay.
I don't know. Anything could happen, right? I have no idea.
But it's a potential future desire. Like, that would be nice to
be able to, I don't not have a passion for it still, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I really enjoy exercise. Like, it's never not going to be a part of my life.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm never just not going to work out. I'm always going to work because I know the benefits of exercise. And why people don't exercise is beyond me. Like, why you can't and you don't need to be in a gym for 2 hours. You don't need to be in a gym for an hour. You can have good, meaningful exercise in 20 minutes, in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? You just have to set a goal every time you go into the gym to exercise and get after it. Like, when I go into the gym, I'm like, all right, we're fucking hitting lats and rows today. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we're going to row a barbell until we fucking can't move anymore. Right? But to the point where like that's an exaggeration, obviously.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like, all right, like, what am I going to do? Do I want to do a heavy row? Do I want to get a good lat pump? Like, what do I want to do? Right? Something that it's going to either or is going to benefit me in a way because I know how to use that, right? Or is today going to be an exploration day of like, what kind of different exercises and those are maybe a little longer sessions, but what kind of different exercises can I make up to help people maybe connect better to their lats?
Right.
Right? That's what I do. That's what I like to do in the gym sometimes, right? And I go through so I can pull up a library of like movements, right? Shit you might have never seen before.
Yeah.
Right? Like, have you ever done a row with a sled? Probably not.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I do. It's like, you know, I'm very off in terms of like a personal trainer. I'm very off the beaten path.
Okay.
Is that like would that be the right statement? Like, just like very different.
I would say that. Yeah.
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 Okay.
At least from like what I see in like the general PT kind of world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I also like more so have to compare it to a little bit of recent experience with some, but more past experience when it was like trash compared to what it is now.
Yeah.
Like when I used to be in the world before.
Like, my goal is to make my clients hate me.
Happy with like what they get from it, but like cursing you out in the meantime.
But legit, like, you're legit gonna be like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, leave me alone. Like, no, because this is what you need.
Yeah.
Right? And this, like, I get what you want and I can help you get there, but it's gonna be by my terms.
Yeah.
Right? So,
and I think, well, even if they have that like hateful feeling, I think they deep down know like, that's what I'm paying you for.
Yeah.
It's like, you have the knowledge, but also because I trust the knowledge, I will allow you to be the one that actually forces me to do something, because motivation is one of the biggest struggles too, right?
Think about why people pay therapists so much fucking money is because they get down to the deep stuff that people don't want to face.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they change because of it.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm trying to do that for you at maybe half the price.
Yeah, right?
And making it a little, and you get to move and sweat and actually do something physiologically different as well.
Yeah, true. Do you think, if you consider the way that, say, I don't even know, 10, 15 years ago, physio was never going to be something offered in like your company benefits or treated the same way as like regular therapy or healthcare in general was, but like now it's more, you see it coming up more and more where you have physio, even like massage and things that can be starting to be included in benefits because the trend is changing a little bit. Like, my dad injured himself running when he was early 30s and just stopped running because he didn't know what he actually did to do to rehab. He's just like, every time I run, it still hurts. So I'm kind of like moving on from it, among other factors.
Yeah, because he doesn't know how to move differently.
Exactly, yeah. That's and it just like, it wasn't a thing at all. But do you think, or I should say, what do you think we will actually need to do more, if it's governmental, policy-wise, that kind of thing, so that people like me who hurt myself more have it as a part of their life, that it's just like, oh, you need to learn how to do your own taxes, you need to learn how to do this and this, and it'll be like such a core part that everybody will be doing it. Like, what do we need to do to like actually get to that point? Because there's so many people out there who have a lot of knowledge in the field.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, most people that you know outside of the fitness world just don't give a shit. They go to gym a little bit and then they give up on it because there's like the core wasn't built from the beginning.
I think if you subsidize like a gym membership, it would probably help.
Okay.
You know, like what Lulu used to do,
Yeah.
right?
That is true. Yeah.
They give you money, and you guys like think about it. You guys go work out. Like I'm not paying for it.
Yeah.
Right. Like what's the first thing people cut out of their budget when they need to save money? Gym membership.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't need to go exercise because I can do it at home.
Yeah.
You fucking can't do it at home. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But like you're not gonna do it at home. I don't. I do it at home. I have a garage now. When I had an apartment in fucking COVID.
Yep.
I didn't work out at home. I was
Yeah.
like, fuck that.
Yeah, that's so true.
No way. I was lucky. I had like like places just to go randomly. Like no one was there, obviously, but like I would just go into the gym, set a key, and just work out.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, your home is a place of safety, rest, and for you to regenerate.
Yeah.
Your home is not meant for exercise. Your home is not meant for work. Your home is meant for you to it's your cave.
Yeah.
You know, it's meant for darkness, food, and recovery.
Yeah.
That's what it's meant for. Right? Like you need to go somewhere around people to work. You need to go somewhere around people to exercise. And you need to just go out and talk to people. Like we're social creatures, man. Like, you know, like your home is not meant for that shit.
Yeah, very true.
Right? So like if a gym is charging you a good amount of money to go there, like chances are they might be worth that money. Like, you know, but the fitness industry is it's a very far-fetched industry. You know what I mean? Because like there's so much out there. People have no idea what they're getting into.
Yeah.
You know, like you can go to a gym, someone can sell you so well on who they are, but they could be so shit at what they do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have no way to tell until you go there. And like maybe you do well and you see progress, and maybe you get hurt.
Yeah.
Right? You have no idea. You kind of have to take that like blind leap of faith when you start working out. Like, who do I trust?
Yeah, that's got to be the hardest thing to do, and probably the reason that so many people give up on these things, because there's such a market for branding yourself regardless of your actual knowledge.
Yeah.
Picture anybody who's like 20 now and has a little success in the gym and a crazy fast metabolism because they're still 20, and start selling you like their online coaching and stuff. Like there's a whole industry based off
like,
of it.
Dude, people like there's so many people like that. Like I would like to say that I'm a pretty knowledgeable guy, what I do, but I fucking make like little to no money because I don't know how to market.
Yeah.
Right. And I've been doing, I would say that I'm like the struggling musician artist of personal trainers right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm still grinding, and maybe, and in hopes that one day the universe will reward me, because like I feel like I'm doing good things for people.
Yeah.
But I have no idea in terms of like, I call it like the coach salesman spectrum, right? Like you can get really good at coaching people and training people, or you can get really good at being a salesperson.
Yeah. You're
going to make more money on this side, but you're probably going to provide less value than you do on this side.
Yeah.
Right. So meeting somewhere in the middle is like where you would want to be. But it's also like in the fact that like, okay, I know my stuff, but like I know what my value is.
Yeah.
Right. And like you're somewhat of an entrepreneur yourself, right? And it's like, okay, well, how much do I charge people for these photos?
Yeah.
Right. Like, how do I see myself in terms of like how good am I at what I do? And that's like honestly the hardest question, because like you get things like imposter syndrome, all that stuff. You deal with all that stuff, and that's like the hardest thing to deal with in terms of like being in like the service industry, like that kind of service industry.
Yeah. They're so similar in that sense, because they're in the exact same way. They're the people who just brand themselves very well and do what people in their industry would say is not great work, but people just go with it and they don't realize. Now it's a little different, because you're not going to hurt yourself if you hire a bad photographer, and you might still get like a result that other people like, even if, you know, the old school people don't like the foundation behind it. So it's a little safer in that sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the PT world, you can be just as good at marketing, get all these people and do nothing with them, and all that does is hurt the whole industry altogether, and people don't actually get something out of it.
Yeah, I mean, like, or they do, but then that's it.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they get something for a short amount of time, someone makes a bunch of money, and then they just go, okay, back to just doing my normal thing.
Yeah.
Until I save up a bunch and go, now's the time to do
like,
it again.
Or like, what you're giving me stopped working.
Yeah.
Right? Because you just adapt, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to find something different. Like, this is where, again, I preach exploration, right? Like, do something for 3-4 months, do something different for the next 3-4 months.
Yeah.
Do something different for the next 3-4 months.
Yeah.
And see what works out really fucking well for you.
Yeah.
It's like diets. Just change it up every a couple months, right? Like if you see something that works out really well, it's going to work until it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then you have to change it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I wonder how you build the mentality to know that you can try different things and figure it out. And if you still narrow things down to something that works for you, you will get somewhere. But most people just give up.
A lot of practice.
Yeah. And I wonder how you burn that into someone's mind the same way you do like other things when like kids are growing up, you know?
Dude, you got
It's a
me.
question we can't answer, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm always going to wonder that until it finally happens, that it's like, if you picture like when we were in high school and we would have like gym class, you do a couple things here and there. And then everybody's just like, you get to that point where you're just like, oh, now I'm going to be all sweaty for my next class. Like this kind of sucks. Whereas there's such an opportunity there to like get you some benefits and like really like burn it into you. But I feel like it's just like,
that's the hardest part, dude. Like so many people in this world need help that they don't even understand. Like they don't even know that they need help.
Yeah.
You know, like you can fix so much stuff in a gym. So many things. You can fix your behavior, your thoughts, you know, the way, just the way you perceive your life in the gym.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. Like how much of that came up through like the whole pandemic time when people stopped working out because there were other things to do and maybe they had free time and tried to do other things in it, or couldn't even if they wanted to. And everybody started to like go on this little downward trend. Things got real spicy, you know, in like the social and political world. And I just bet that like if that was there the whole time, it would have made like such a huge difference. And maybe that would have been the big realization that people would have had.
Literally tell people, go exercise.
Yeah.
Go exercise.
You know, the one main gym that kept getting put in the news for staying open the whole time?
Yeah.
Did they ever end up getting like,
I don't think so,
big fines, or was it like $1,000 here and there? They just kept doing it because they seem like they're doing really well now.
I follow the owners on Instagram and stuff.
Okay.
They seem like they're doing okay.
It seemed like it.
Yeah. I think they're fine.
Okay. Yeah. I wondered about that because like they were so defiant and they polarized like the city, I guess, as a whole. Yeah. But at the same time,
good for them.
Yeah.
Fucking good for them.
I was all for it. I had a virtual doctor's appointment one time, and I just like came out. I was like, so how would you feel about like maybe like writing me one of those letters so that like I can like still go to the gym? And my doctor was just like, no, can't do it. Like we had a big discussion, a bunch of us, and decided we're not doing that. It's like, oh, like it was a thing that like doctors, a subgroup of people said, what should we do? Because everybody's coming to us saying this, and they had to make this like weird decision. I was so fascinated by that. I wanted to ask all the questions. And I was like, okay, thank you.
Yeah, dude. And I even heard of some doctors would be like, yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so weird that it just like depends who you go to.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. You imagine if it's just like, this person has like cancer. Like, what should we do? We should do this. I think we should do this. It's like, okay, figure out which it is, because you have the tools to do that.
Yeah.
But
well, you can't. I mean, this was a little bit of an exception because it was very novel, right? So, but like,
yeah, it was so new and everybody wanted to play it safe. Yeah. Like, no one wanted to harm people.
Low key, like I'm still waiting, 6-7 years for like a bunch of these studies to come up being like, this is what we should have done.
Yeah.
This is where we fucked up.
Do you know Dr. K is like the short version of calling him is like Kwadwo is his name. It's like Kwadwo Karamatang or something.
No.
He's like an Ottawa doctor who, the girl I was talking about earlier who I did an episode with recently, she had like, was it like a epidemiology type podcast while she was doing a work with one of the local hospitals.
Okay.
So she like kind of started it through her master's program.
Yeah.
And he was a guest on there. They had a really interesting conversation. And then over the next few months, he was sort of one of those guys trying to preach like a little bit of rationality in things.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like, I don't know if this is actually true, what a lot of people are saying, but like, I think we should consider it and like kind of wonder. So he was one of the first ones to be like, I think like kids at least should be allowed to go back to school sooner than other people said. And now he's like very successful outside of his, I think he's an ER doctor, or was it ER that he was in? Anyway, so he was like dealing with like COVID patients all the time.
Yeah.
And he got like a lot of pushback and sort of made a bit of a name for himself in the city here.
Okay.
And he was very fascinating to listen to because it was like watching somebody question something and then get into hot water over it, but still like not want to like hurt his own career. And it was so fascinating.
You couldn't ask questions.
Yeah.
You couldn't ask questions between 2020 and 2022.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Yeah, it was wild. And I just wonder like how many people were like him that thought that
And like, what if he was in that group that my doctor was in when they were like discussing these things? And like, I always want to know like what the behind the scenes are like. But yeah, so he was interesting. So I was always following him and like following along with this gym who like admittedly were being douches about it, but I understand why.
Yeah.
And also like a lot of people that I know like very much dislike the human beings behind it, but separate argument, right?
Yeah, you can. The pandemic was fucked. Like
That's a good way of putting it.
When it comes down to it, it was fucked. You know what I mean? Like the way I can best describe it is like you can be very passionate about one side of things and you can believe what you want to believe and everyone around you can believe the opposite thing and that can cause you some crazy ass stress.
Yeah.
Right? Which was kind of like my situation in a way. Where am I going with this? Fuck, man, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Well, if it's anything like me, it'll come back real hard later.
Yeah.
With 1,000 things.
Yeah. Well, no, it was, what was I trying to say here? The pandemic was fucked. Like there's so many emotions about it, you know, like you could believe what you wanted to believe. It was just like causing too much polarity in the world. You know what I mean? Like
for sure. Yeah.
What I was going after is like, you're going to find something that you just automatically agree with because it matches what your maybe theory was on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. So as soon as you see something that is more credible than your own opinion, say the same thing as you're like, see, I fucking told you.
Yeah. Just like, confirmation bias kind of thing.
Exactly.
Where like you see what you want to see.
There you go. Yeah.
And that was definitely.
But it happened on both sides.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the thing. And it, God forbid, one side sat down with the other and had a legitimate conversation about, you know, this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That goes straight back to adults being old children.
Yeah.
And like some things don't change and we just didn't realize that until we became them. That like if you are like a little bit of a bully, you might be the same way and you might get away with it and you're going to be the same thing when you're older. It's so crazy.
Very crazy, dude.
It's so sad.
Yeah. That's why I joke around with some clients sometimes. I was like, I didn't get into teaching, but I just teach adult children now. That's cool.
That's honestly what it is.
Yeah.
That's
like, people are still just like peering around in class, not paying attention. Just like, you know, like maybe try this. Okay. Don't do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, maybe try this. Okay. Don't do it.
Yeah.
You know,
then get hurt. I listened to that guy and then I got hurt. It's like, I'm going to go somewhere else. That's crazy.
Yeah.
How can he be a trainer?
That's wild. Because you did what I told you not to fucking do.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that goes back to me fucking myself up. You check out.
Yeah.
Your mind is on 800 different things.
Yeah.
Like I just had an interaction with a girl at the gym the other day. I think I've gotten really good at this, but I can see in people's faces when they're either just scared of something or they're just not there.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, what's up? How you doing? You know, how's your day? Right. Oh, you know, I had a really shit day. Why? Right. So like as a trainer, you got to talk to fucking people. You got to be human.
Yeah.
You can't just show people how to do things, right? That's how it is. Like you can't just run up to people and be like, "Oh, push your butt back more."
Yeah.
You know, like how are you doing today?
Yeah.
How do you feel about this exercise? Why aren't you doing this exercise?
Yeah.
You know, oh, my back. Well, what happened to your back? Right?
Yeah.
Asking questions. I find asking questions and coming from a place of curiosity is very, very important as a trainer.
Yeah.
As a coach. You know, get to know your athletes, right? And I think that's important in terms of professional sports too. Like if you try to design a system and fit pieces into your system, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
I think if you see what you have and you try to adapt to what you have, then you're going to succeed more, I think, than you're going to fail. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
You really brought a positive note to me saying I was about to end this on adults suck and we just don't realize that when we're younger. You put a nice spin on us. That was good.
We don't suck. We're adults.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. You just don't realize how hard it is. But no, I appreciate you putting a nice twist on it, ending it nicely.
Cool.
I think we'll wrap it up. We got a lot of stuff covered. And once we think of 1,000 more things next time, come back on and do it again.
Yeah, dude, I'd love to.
The setup process will be a little bit smoother because we know what we're doing now.
It was good. It was fine. I didn't like this. Is all good.
I appreciate you saying that.
That's all good.
Okay.
Trust me, you weren't scrambling or anything. It was fine.
All right, I'm gonna look up instructions for big extension cords too.
Yeah,
and we're gonna solve that problem one that's sitting over there.
That was wild. Literally looking at it like Neanderthals figuring out fire.
Maybe it spins. Maybe you actually have to pry it open. Maybe it's meant to be a challenge.
Yeah. No.
All right.
Cool,
all right. Thanks, Jalen, for coming in.
Sick. I think.
And hopefully we'll do it again at some other point. Hope people get something out of this too from the 1,000 different topics.
I think
we
they'll
touched
just
on.
figure out that we both really like football.
You know what? I'll take that because my friends think I suck at talking sports. So if you guys think that, then I'm gonna send you some emails. You gotta contact. Okay, cool. All right.
Great,
Thanks,
buddy.
people. Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Appreciate it. Cheers.